You're listening to The Pete Sheppard Show.
Oh, it's good to be back.
Third and 8. Levitt. That ball's intercepted. It is intercepted. Makuma seals it. Hook 'em horns. They're headed home to Texas to play in the Cotton Bowl. Texas advances. Makuma seals it.
Hello, everybody. Good morning and a very happy new year. Welcome to the Pete Sheppard Show, the first 2025 edition here on the Coastal Sports Network. How's everybody doing today? We have so much to get to. College football playoff and NFL news will dominate the show. I promise you that. Let's get it going. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Of course, across the video platform here on Twitter X, follow me at pshep326 on Facebook. Bunch of Facebook outlets, plus Tampa Joe's at Tampa on their Facebook page, sr1029thegame.com, CSN Florida, Rumble, Kick, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube, and, of course, you can call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. We're going to get to and break down the entire college football playoff, what went on. A couple of, one exciting game yesterday, as you just heard, very controversial as well. In Texas, 39-31 win over Arizona State at the Peach Bowl at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. And in Ohio State, absolutely clobbering Oregon, jumping out to a 34-0 lead, 34-8 at halftime. They just absolutely obliterated Oregon yesterday in the Rose Bowl, 41-21. And, of course, the incredible tragedy of about 15 people getting killed and 35 injured, including two Fort Myers young ladies that I'll get to in New Orleans the night before the Sugar Bowl. And we will get into all of that as well a little bit. And the NFL, basically there's the one big game is going to be Minnesota and Detroit. That's going to decide everything. We'll get into who's in the playoffs, who isn't, and the big debate once again. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this. You can go both ways. I like going both ways. And sports topics like this, the gray area, is about Saquon Barkley and whether he should play and get the 100 yards and try to break Eric Dickerson's record, yada, yada, yada. I have my own thoughts on that. I'm sure that our buddy Angel Martinez, co-host and executive producer extraordinaire, has some thoughts about that. Nick Sirianni has thoughts about that. Either way, he's damned if you do, damned if you don't type of thing. I don't think there's any seriously one way or the other, right or wrong answer for that. But we'll debate it, and we'll at least talk about it as well. But I want to wish everybody a happy and safe, healthy 2025. And may this be a prosperous and healthy new year for all of you and your families. I'll tell you why you need to have a healthy and prosperous new year. Angel Martinez, buenos dias, amigo. Good morning, and happy New Year to you and yours.
Good morning, Senor Peter. Yes, it is January 2nd here, 2025. I remember like back in the day when you used to have to write checks, how many times in the very beginning, at least like the first 5 to 10 days, when you always put the year before, it's like, crap, scribble it out, initial it, and keep it going from there. But no, Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to everyone. Appreciate everyone tuning in. And we already have the first text that came in. But the start of the show is Gas from Guy. As he says, good morning, fellas. I hope you guys had a great Christmas and a great New Year. Can't wait for this great year that is going to be up and coming for everybody in the network. Indeed. Thanks to everyone, by the way, over the holiday weekend. Those who were checking out the post shows, as I've lost my voice, but those who checked out the past programming, I do appreciate it. We have a new setup here on the studio for those watching on the video platform. Make it a little easier on the eyes and more informative as much as possible. And there's been some new stuff that's been rearranged on the website. As I always say, work never stops, and it didn't during the break. So I probably had 5 minutes of downtime. The rest of the time was just work. But That's the way it is. And good morning to the fellas out there in Lakeland, Florida, City Garage Motorsports. We do appreciate everyone tuning in.
Love that. Love that. But it's been a weird week of weather. Right after we got off the air, what was it, a week ago today? When the hell did we get off the air? Oh, no, Monday. What am I don't even know what day it is. What day is it?
Thursday.
Who the hell can keep track of all these things? I got to be now. It's besides sports and everything else, and I got to be forced to keep track of days of the week. No, like it's just been crazy. It's been a weird 12 days of weather, at least here in Southwest Florida. Massive fog from here up to you, Angel, and Tampa, across Alligator Alley to the Miami Fort Lauderdale area. And then it gets beautiful around 2:00 in the afternoon, and it becomes number 10. But chilly this morning. Going to be chilly down here the rest of the week in the 50s in the morning, and then the low 70s, going down to the highs for low 70s and highs of low 60s almost all of next week. But we welcome it because it's always been, it's always beautiful down here, and I welcome the times where, as I say it all the time, where you can open both doors, the lanai in the back and in the front with a big screen on it and everything, and just enjoy the cross breeze. Luna loves it because she can look out and go outside and all that stuff. Anyway, it's been a kind of weird weather. It was like that up your way too?
Yeah, we had in the morning, because it looked almost like it was going to rain, but it didn't. And then you had just the really just every morning, except for as I'm looking out the studio window, not this morning as much, only because it's colder. But it was tons of fog. I think around 10:30, 11 o'clock, the same way like you said, it would open up, and then we finally get the sunny skies. Yesterday was the last warm day around here. It got up to about 81. And then we're looking at 60s, 70s today, 60s for the weekend. And then next week, we're into the 50s with the overnights in the 20s to 30s. So and that's because of the cold front.
Speak for yourself. I mean, that's maybe up in Tampa it is.
Yeah.
Down here, it's not going to be quite in the 20s. It'll be in the mid to high 40s in the morning for a couple hours. And then the high, like I said, with highs next week, a lot of days are only around 61. Now, of course, look, I mean.
Yeah, we didn't sign up for this cold weather.
And snowstorms around a big part of the country, so nobody's going to have a BOOHOO for us. I get it. But nevertheless, it's taken me 8 years down here to actually realize it can get a tad chilly. Your body adapts, and then all of a sudden, something back in, if I was up in New England still at, 40 degrees outside, I'd probably still have shorts and a polo shirt on or something like that. It wouldn't bother me. Now it bothers me.
Well, the reason why is because since there's constant humidity in the air, and we're surrounded by moisture, no matter where you are here in Florida, that adds to it. So it feels like, up north when we get them super cold days, no matter what you wear, it goes through you. It's like that here in Florida for whatever odd reason, but thankfully it doesn't last long. But because the rest of you figure up north to at least over to, they say, like Oregon, come next week, we're going to be in a deep freeze as far as up there. The only thing that drives you nuts down here is your plants. When you have outside plants, you got to put the blankets and covers and stuff on there so they don't die off.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So how was your New Year? Anything festive, or just hang low? We hung low pretty much. I was in bed after the football game, basically. So I was, it was one of those where I didn't watch any ball drop or anything like that. Not that I haven't. Like last year I did. We were at a house party, but this year was kind of mellow, kind of laid low.
No, it was the same way for us. So I had worked so much within the studio that New Year's Eve, I was pretty much burned out, but we were in bed by 9:30. That's how burned out I was. And it's a first for us as far as being in bed that early, but whatever. It's one of those things, but we kept, it was a low profile for the most part. Yesterday, we stepped out to the upper deck to have a nice lunch. But other than that, it was pretty much, it was low key. Even Christmas was basically low key.
Yeah, on New Year's Eve, we went to a place called South Fork in Coconut Point. Really, really cool place. And watched some of the football game there. We went like 4:30. I was back home by 6:30, 6:45. Had a couple of drinks and some nice, some good food. Brandon, our bartender, was really, really good. So, and I mean, like ridiculous, ridiculously good. A salute, Don Corleone. It was unbelievable. So, but yeah, really, really nice time. And then came home, watched the football game, and just laid low, went to bed. afterwards, and not even the fireworks at midnight. The constant fireworks, constant fireworks now. That started really on the 30th. Then you get them on the 31st, and it's like, I'm such a non-firework guy. Like, if I see it from my house or something, and even when I lived in Boston in the North End and could go up to a roof deck and watch, 4th of July, which is one of the best in the country, that's all good. And I guess it just, this stuff scares the shit out of the dog. By the way, my New Year's resolution, one, as I always do this time of year, Angel, is going to be that I will not swear as much.
Wake up!
Yes, sir.
Wake up! Yes, sir. You haven't finished your order, you lazy cow.
All right, we'll see how that works out.
Man, fuck me. This is wrong. Oh my God. This is wrong.
All right. I'm going to promise to try to cut down on my little F-bomb tirades at times. I don't try to F-bomb a lot. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's been going, every year I say the same thing. One year, my big resolution, cut down on cussing. So that's what I'll try to do. But it's even harder now on this platform because I can do whatever I want. I don't try to overdo it. It's as Mr. Spock said in Star Trek 4, dare I say it, Captain? Remember they were in San Francisco, this is the whale movie. It's like, I've noticed an alternate form of language down here, as we say, more colorful metaphors, double dumbass on you and so much. So,
Man, but but the thing is, it's like when we have guests on, right? It's the same way. If there's a story to tell the story the way it was. Because back, when it was just Broad Street South, Sean Salisbury came on and he wanted to tell the story. And he said, it's okay if I curse. I'm like, listen, I'm not regulated by the FCC, but go ahead and say what you got to say. But it's better when you tell the story that way. The same way, there's times, do we all get upset? Of course we do. I don't care who you are. Everybody gets upset at one point or another. But you got to sometimes you got to let it out, just the way it works. And then you feel better because you just walk around like, I got that off my chest. I'm good. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, but you can edit yourself a little bit instead of saying, I can say F this instead of fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There are ways of BS. But sometimes it's just, but that is one of my goals, is to become more of less frequent of a cusser. I say that every year. It'll last about, I don't know, another minute or two before I get. But anyway, but I'm glad hopefully everybody had Julia says.
It's Audacity. It says.
He says Odyssey should end. Julia said, I can't get. I don't care about Odyssey. I appreciate your concern. I just don't care. I told you, they're all going bankrupt. Hopefully, they'll all have a safe and healthy New Year. But anybody who works for these companies out there, your job is in jeopardy, unfortunately, at any time. Anyway, not the case here. We are just growing by leaps and bounds. Everybody knows about the Coastal Sports Network. We are growing by leaps and bounds, a big part thanks to, obviously, Angel Martinez, who created this entire platform, but all the great hosts that we have on here now and continuing to grow. Got a couple more, Angel, after the show. Got to talk to you about a couple of people that may want to come on board. And now it's becoming a time where there's not a lot of space, which is a good problem to have. But we'll get into all of that. I can't wait to get to your thoughts about Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll do, where the NFL playoffs are now. A couple of games that can make a difference on Sunday as well, including the big one with Detroit and Minnesota, and that is huge. That's going to decide not only the division, the number one seed, and a lot more seeding depending on what happens in the other games as well. So, as my nose starts to run. Anyway, the number is 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of what happened yesterday and throughout the college football playoff, I did obviously want to acknowledge what happened in New Orleans. A lot of these shows I've been watching on TV over the last, 36 hours or so, they kind of wait till the end. I'd rather do this now. I think it's important. It's much more important than what happened in the games. And I don't want to get too politically involved in what happened, but obviously, you had the quarterfinal game between Georgia and Alabama and Notre Dame, which is secondary, canceled yesterday. The Sugar Bowl, the deadly pickup truck attack in New Orleans. killed 15 people, injured dozens more, around 35 other people, including 2 young ladies here in Fort Myers. I'm not sure up in your area, Tampa, Angel, but down here, Isel and Steele Idelson. They were 2 young ladies that both graduated in 2023 from Canterbury School here in Fort Myers. And both beautiful young ladies. Elle is at the University of Georgia now, and Steele is at San Diego State. Both were seriously injured in the trauma ICU unit at the University Medical Center down in New Orleans, and Steele is going to have to undergo surgery. I don't know what for. Just our thoughts and prayers go out to both of their families, and we wish, to Elle and Steele to be, just recuperate and come back better than ever. But just such a sad, sad thing that happened down there. Absolutely unbelievable. This guy, 42-year-old, a U.S. citizen and former Army vet, Shamsuddin Jabbar, just ran over a whole bunch of people. He, again, over 35 people had about 3:15 a.m. Central Time, so at 4:15 Eastern Time Wednesday in the French Quarter, one of the key destinations for New Year's Eve parties. The driver killed in a firefight with police after the attack, and adding it was heading in an investigation with the partners to investigate the act as an act of terrorism. The vehicle rammed into a crowd of people on Bourbon Street, and after it came to a stop, the driver, again, as I said, I don't even want to say his name. I don't like giving people these terrorists their names. I said it once, I'm not going to say it again. It's just unfortunate. He is a U.S. citizen and Army veteran from Texas. He emerged from the truck, opened fire on the responding officers, and officers returned fire, and they got him. So among those to fall, and the 2 young ladies I mentioned did not die, but they're in serious condition out in New Orleans at the University Medical Center. Hopefully, LSL and Steele Idelson will pull through this. But former Princeton football player Tiger Beck, who was an All-Ivy League returner, former TCU wide receiver Jack Beck, addressed his older brother's death in a post on X and said, quote, "You inspired me every day. Now you get to be with me in every moment." At least one Georgia student suffered critical injuries in the attack and was receiving medical treatment, and I believe that is Isel, the young lady I just mentioned here from Fort Myers. So anyway, still an investigation ongoing. The authorities said that the man drove onto a sidewalk going around a police car that was positioned to block vehicular traffic and protect Bourbon Street revelers. A barrier system designed to prevent vehicle attacks was undergoing repairs in preparation for the Super Bowl, which is scheduled to be played in the city in February. The FBI said it was investigating Jabbar to determine, quote, potential associations and affiliations with terrorist organizations. An Islamic State group flag was recovered in the vehicle driven by Jabbar. Investigators do not believe he was solely responsible for the attack. According to the agency's intelligence bulletin, surveillance footage showed 3 men and a woman placing one of multiple improvised explosive devices in the French Quarter. Atlanta police released a statement saying they would deploy specialized units and additional personnel to the area around Mercedes-Benz Stadium yesterday. And, of course, the game was postponed. Supposed to be played today at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Central Time. And hopefully hopefully safety first and everybody gets in and out. But I guarantee it is going to be, I would say, and I'm serious, if you are down there and you're listening to the show, God bless you, I would probably get to that stadium around no later than 10 or 11 o'clock this morning, because security is going to be, and rightly so, up the ass for that one. It's very much like going to a Super Bowl. And after 9/11, the ones in 2001 that I was fortunate enough to attend, you better go, even for media, you better get there 4 or 5 hours before, because it's just crazy. But Angel, it's so unfortunate. We were talking a little bit off the air about it, that just it's just unbelievable. And it really, really hurts even more that this was a U.S. citizen and a former Army vet. It just sucks. But, these people that are involved in these types of organizations, it doesn't matter. They're from all different. It's not just this country or in Afghanistan it's everywhere. And It just sucks. This is what they want. They want to strike the fear into the heart and soul of this country, and they want to make people stay home and not go out. And I don't think that's the right thing to do. But I certainly can understand people who do not want to be in public places like this. I've been on Bourbon Street a couple of times in my life, and around that area, it's beautiful. I love the city. Brain damage, from partying, but it's a wonderful city. Bourbon Street and surrounding streets are great tourists, great food, a lot of fun. But this is, once again, I hate to use the word, puts everything in perspective. Angel Martinez.
No, it does, and then it's the suck face part about it is that that's all what they want to do is they want to have you where you stay home, you don't go out, you stay locked in, and it's like it's installing fear in everyone. What's even more sad is that you're going out to have a good time, and there's a lot of folks. Listen, I'm the same way with me. There's times you're a workaholic, and then there's a time you want to release, so you want to go out and enjoy everything with everybody, and then you get stuff like this that ends up happening. I know, sometimes they'll take the oversized, garbage trucks, and they try to use those as barricades, but you can't. Unfortunately, there's only so much you can end up doing to provide security. And
but you know what, Angel? I'm surprised that the city of New Orleans, knowing full well that this event was going to happen, a year ago down here, that they weren't ready. And I'm not saying it. It probably would have helped. I'm not saying this guy probably would have found a will or way to try and hurt people no matter what barricades were up. I'm not saying that. But I am a little bit surprised that they didn't have this as a top priority, even though the Super Bowl's coming up there in February. But why not now? I mean, it's just a month earlier. I mean, I would have thought they would have had some kind of this in place for this particular game. I mean, it's one of the biggest college games of the year. It's the first year of the college football playoff. It's in New Orleans, and it's on New Year's Eve. You got and on New Year's Day. I'm surprised there was not a plan in place, that it wasn't fixed yet, or finished yet, I should say.
Yeah, no, it's just like I said, it sucks. You want to go out. We chose not to go anywhere. That's just us. It doesn't mean that we couldn't have. We just we figured not to go anywhere. One was because I was just tired from working, and we didn't feel like doing anything else. But that's what you shouldn't do. In the same way too, you also have the one in Vegas where they decided to try to send supposedly Trump a message by taking a smart truck, whatever they want to call it, from Elon's wardrobe of vehicles. And he put same thing, a detonation device behind the vehicle, put it in front of the Trump Towers at Vegas, and ended up blowing it up. So, it's this stuff that we expect now. We shouldn't be expecting this, but at the same time, too, we've got to get better. As the FBI, as the CIA, you got to get a little bit better and tighten things up just a little bit more. But, it's a shame for the people who lost their lives. No, one life lost is too much. And especially during the holidays, which is the worst time, because now it's the same way. Now family members have to remember how their loved ones passed away, not because they were old or, they were just in bad health. No, because someone decided to take something upon themselves and take innocent people that had nothing to do with your agenda.
All right, well said. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, if you have any comments about it, Penguin AZ says, good morning, Angel and Pete and CSN. Happy New Year. Condolences and prayers to all. Thanks, Penguin AZ. Appreciate it. Well, okay, so that's all I'm going to say on that. And just hopefully those two young ladies, like I said, Elle Iseli and Steele Idelson, and forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your names correctly, the two young ladies that graduated from Canterbury School last year in 2023. And she's a student at the University of Georgia. Elle is, and Steele is a student at San Diego State. She is undergoing a surgery today at the University Medical Center down there. In fact, they both were in the trauma ICU. So thoughts and prayers to not only them, but everybody else and all their families. Okay. All right. As I said, I went to bed early on New Year's Eve after Penn State beat Boise State 31-14. An absolute thrashing in so many ways. And I can't wait for Jay Falani to come on and see if by chance he can put aside his Michigan biases, and rightly so after they beat up on Alabama, which was fantastic. But I'm wondering if his mind is starting to change a little bit about Coach Franklin, a little bit, about not being able to win big games and that kind of a thing. And then you had the Ohio State debacle yesterday, which, even though obviously he hates Ohio State, it was like Anakin Skywalker turning to the dark side, right when he kills Master Windu. and takes his arm off and power. I could feel every single score, Ohio State. I could sense, me being Yoda, I could sense the anger and the hate coming out of Ann Arbor, Michigan with Jay as Ohio State they look like the best team right now. And I've been saying that's 2 weeks in a row I've said it. They look like the best team. Things can change. I think Texas got extremely fortunate yesterday that penalty did not get called for targeting. It absolutely, in my mind, should have. It absolutely should have. But also, Arizona State gave up a 14-yard, fourth and 14, gave up a touchdown on that play as well. So there's some blame to be there too. Anyway, but I could feel the hatred burning inside of Jay's body at each Ohio State score, and that was a butt whipping. But going back, Penn State beat Boise State. They kept Genty in check. He only had 104 carries, 3.5-yard average on 30. And it wasn't even that good because he had one, I think one was a 26-yard run, and that was it. They bottled him up. And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to make the Feinbaums of the world and others, they're going to be like on their high horse again about how these other teams can't compete with the SEC and the Big Ten, or mostly the SEC, yada, 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 until, Arizona State nearly pulled it off yesterday against Texas. But Michigan beating Georgia, the mighty, mighty Alabama Crimson Tide going down and losing to Michigan at Ray J. And so whatever good was left by Jay, and that was taken away, I think, by what happened. By what happened with Ohio State yesterday over Oregon, and we'll get my Miami Hurricanes and that whole controversy, a mini controversy is I'm over and done with it. I didn't expect them to play in the second half. Their defense led up again a whole bunch of points, so it is. But Michigan beating Alabama 19-13 and jumping out to a 16-0 lead. Even then, I said, I didn't think it was particularly safe. But the mighty Alabama Crimson Tide losing to Michigan 19-13 at Ray J. It was a great crowd. I didn't know if you went to that game, Angel. You're covering it or doing something. I wasn't sure if you were there or not.
For Michigan?
For the Michigan-Alabama game at Ray J.
Yeah, no. Didn't do that one. Ended up doing the Cure Bowl, which was that one. That game was really good as well. But no, didn't do Michigan and unfortunately Alabama. I'll talk to you that one off air.
Okay. All right. Well, if we can't scroll down before we go on our first break, it's 2 down. Feinbaum yesterday, he waves the white flag. This is on awful announcing, Paul Feinbaum, talking about Alabama on Get Up. Waving the white flag, or waving the white towel, Angel.
Oh, boy.
Well, Greeny, I led the Alabama parade to get them into the playoffs. You know that. I stood on every building, especially on this show. And on the first day of the new year, I'm surrendering. I am waving the white flag. Forget Alabama. I'm done. Count me out.
Oh, Paul, with one of those hotel towels. Very good. Paul, that is well played. I like it. We all like to see the concession speech being made from Sir Paul. All right, guys, stay where you are. College football play.
All right, yeah. Feinbaum surrenders, and this is we've had several SEC teams, Paul. The ACC has not done particularly well. I'm not saying that. But certainly, the Texas-Arizona State game, which we're going to take a break. We're going to get more into that in Ohio State and Oregon yesterday, and then a little bit more of a preview coming up for Georgia and Notre Dame coming up today. For the record, I like the Bulldogs as well. But there's a lot to discuss in the college football playoff and who looks good and who doesn't. And everybody's got to put aside their biases against conferences and coaches right now and just look at what does your eyeball tell you right now? It tells me that Ohio State is playing at a different level than everybody else. It really does. And you can say what you want about Penn State. This is a nice win against Boise State. Give Boise State a lot of credit for hanging in there. But Penn State, the way they shut down Genty was very, very impressive. But right now, I'd have to say, looking at the entire college football playoff, as far as what I've seen overall. Ohio State is there, so is Penn State, and then we'll see. I think Georgia's going to beat Notre Dame today as well. But we'll get your thoughts on that and a whole lot more. We've got a lot of NFL news to discuss. I've got some highlights, as I said, from the college football playoff from yesterday, and we'll get into the controversial play last night or late yesterday afternoon, I should say, between Arizona State and Texas, which was just mind-boggling to me on what is targeting, what is not targeting. I just don't understand. We'll get into all of that and a whole lot more. Jay Flanley going to join me at 8:05 this morning. And from Beeves World, Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and Bookies.com will join me at 9:05. Angel Martinez, of course, is in the house. Quick break, then we'll come back and really get into it on the Pete Sheppard Show here on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Jardiniere.
Hey everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them, sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable.
But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you. You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't spaz out because your team lost. Let Pete do it for you. Now, back to the Pete Sheppard Show.
Scannaboo straight ahead, driving those legs, and in, he gets in, he is in, touchdown, Forks up. Scannaboo wrapped up, sent back, and then goes forward. Is he in? Yes!
Oh, Joe Tessitore, Jesse Palmer with the call yesterday on ESPN. Scannaboo ends up being the MVP, puked all over the sideline at one point, you could tell. Everybody saw it, but what an unbelievable effort. But the Sun Devils come up just a little bit short in overtime yesterday as at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Texas wins in overtime, double overtime, 39-31. Scannaboo was absolutely unbelievable. Here he is after the game.
What does it mean to leave ASU better than how you found it? And I saw you grab Kenny in the tunnel as you were walking back to the locker room. What did it mean to play for Kenny for these past couple
Kenny
of
Dillingham, Cam Scannaboo, and Sam Levitt.
In a good way. Simple. They've supported me through everything. Put me in a position to be successful. So I thank everybody in the ASU community and, Coach Dillingham and his staff and this kid next to me right here. They changed my life forever.
Hey, Cam, so I know it's just right after the game, but is it kind of just going through the emotions in your mind, like, this was my last game, this is the last time I'll be with Kenny, I'll be with Sam, and just, the emotions behind it, just of the performance you had and just going out there with them one final time?
Yeah, Coach Dillingham's got the longest future in coach history, I promise. And then, this kid next to me, he's going to play on Sundays. I'm going to play on Sundays. So us three right here, we got a long life ahead of us. This is just the beginning for us. No matter what, these guys will be in my life forever. So it's awesome that I was able to play football for and with them. And, I'm happy to be in the position I am. And, for him to put me in a role to be successful, and then, Sam executing to help me be successful. I just hats off to those guys, and, I love those guys.
All right, there you heard from Cam Scannaboo and Sam Levitt, Kenny Dillingham. Hey!
It's where confidence is
Anyway, but if we could scroll down, Angela, big story in this game is what people are going to be remembering. That was this game taken away from the Arizona State Sun Devils. If you scroll down, it's just it's right under the show, the first one. Scott Van Pelt debated last night with Dusty Dvorak about the targeting call that was not called, and I believe it absolutely should have been called. I'm not saying it would have made Arizona State a winner, But, man, it certainly looked like it was going to be that way because they dominated them, Texas, in the second half. But here's the exchange this morning on ESPN.
Whatever. I don't care who it is. That's targeting 100 times out of 100. It wasn't in this case. What'd you see? What'd you think?
I thought it was targeting. Michael Taft's a fabulous player. His story is incredible. He's second-team All-American. But I thought it was targeting in the moment. I picked up the phone. I made a few phone calls. I talked to Bill LeMonnier, who I think is one of the absolute best, works for us, ESPN, ABC, as a rules expert. And he said verbatim, it's an offenseless player. There was an upward thrust indicator, forcible contact to the head or neck area. It's targeting. And so we heard Matt Austin on the call. He thought it was targeting. We go through these seminars and before the season as analysts that call games, and we're always looking at different plays. Mm-hmm. That looked to me to be letter of the law, targeting.
Whatever. I don't care who it is.
All right. I don't think there's any question about it. And it would have given them a first down, obviously. And the way they were moving and the way they outgained Texas in this game, particularly in the second half, was very impressive. And I'm sure they feel the game was ripped away from them. Heard a couple of people this morning say, I'm glad the referees didn't, make that call. It should have been decided on the field. Now, granted, Texas had a pair of chances to win in regulation. Bird Auburn, who could have been a big-time GOAT. He's been one of the great kickers this year in college football. Wide right in a 48-yard field goal attempt, and then clanked one off the left upright from 38 yards as time expired. So Texas certainly had their chances, but Arizona State gave up that 4th and 13 in overtime for a touchdown. That was absolutely huge. But it's really, once again, you cannot. Nobody knows what targeting is. They just seem to ignore it at certain points in games, and that to me is an obvious one. I mean, I think you got to call that there. You have to call that there. But both teams had chances to win, especially Texas in regulation. Certainly Arizona State had a chance to win. All they had to do was defend a 4th and 13 and couldn't get it done. And then at the end, Texas had the interception. But your thoughts, Angel? I'm sure you think it was targeting too, right?
Yeah, there's no way you can't pick up the flag and then say it wasn't targeting. You can see it clear as day that it was targeting. I know some of the games this year in the NFL, they've gone back and they've looked, and sure, a couple of them haven't been, but that one looked clear as day that it was targeting. And I say this over and over again. I don't know how long it's going to take before someone decides to take all these referees, put up some sort of university, and say, listen to this and watch this. And in the same way, coaches should be doing a better job when it comes to these athletes and just letting them know, listen, you can't be doing this, because it isn't going to take that someone's going to pass away on the field when you do something as silly as this. But that was clear as day.
That was a bang bang play. I get it. It wasn't. I'm not saying that the player just went after him. And we've seen spearing and / targeting before in a nasty, nasty way. I don't think this was it. But nevertheless, it's like tripping in hockey. Sometimes you don't mean to do it, but it's done. You got to call it. Just because it's overtime, you got to do it. Now, Arizona State also. How many chances did they have before the fourth quarter? 3 times stopped on 4th down in Texas territory. Then they get a 36-yard field goal blocked right before the half, as well Arizona State did. But certainly Kenny Dillingham, who got the big contract extension before yesterday's game or 36 hours ago, he's going to be around for a while. But 34 years old, one of the great young head coaches in all of college football. Cannot say enough about Scadaboo. 143 yards on 30 carries and 2 touchdowns. He puked a little bit. Who cares? But then had 99 yards on 8 catches as well. I mean, he was just absolutely outstanding. That was the best game by far of the college football playoff, because from a drama standpoint overall, it hasn't been that dramatic. It hasn't been that dramatic as of yet. Now, I think the Georgia-Notre Dame game today has the potential to be a very good game. I think Georgia's going to win by at least a touchdown, but who knows? Who knows what, Notre Dame has been playing very good football right now. The winner goes on to play Penn State, I believe, in the next round. So we shall see. And Texas is moving on to the Cotton Bowl as well in their own backyard. We'll see who they end up playing. But congratulations. That was the bit. So far, overall, Angel Martinez, you've been disappointed with the way the college football playoff has played out. Not a lot of drama in these games.
Nah, it's either been blowouts or it's been snooze fest, one of the two. But yeah, I would expect a better bowl season, especially now since they're pushing it basically all through the month of January, which I have no issues with it whatsoever because then we start leading into the NFL playoffs. But nah, I just think some of these games like, whatever. And then of course, then you had your Pop-Tarts Bowl, which a lot of people made a big stink about Cam Ward, which listen, here's the way I see it. He started at least Jaden Daniels last year when we covered the ReliaQuest Bowl, decided he didn't want to hurt his draft stock, and he chose to sit in the game. But you have Cam Ward who decided to start, and then he took himself out in the second half. What's Mario Cristobal supposed to do? And so a lot of people felt like, well, he just gave up on his team. The kid played. What else? I mean, he's going to the NFL. What else do you want him to do?
Yeah, I think people who got way over the top. You saw some of these people on these Miami Facebook pages, and they're just, I don't know what goes around through their head. They don't understand the game. They're just so pissed off at this. This wasn't about the offense. It was the defense. Now, but again, it goes back to me thinking, how entertaining would it have been Miami to be in this college football playoff with the best quarterback in the country. I mean, they may have lost 50-49, but man, it would have been, I don't care who they would have played, that would have been fun to watch that offense. It was just, the game was 21-21 in the first quarter. I mean, it was like, it was just insane. But Cam Ward was basically perfect, absolutely magnificent. But it is what it is. It's not gonna. It's this kid Likey that they have coming in, this like 4 or 5 star, unbelievable Lamar Jackson type of quarterback coming in next year is because I don't think Emory is going to be the starter there next year. But if this kid Likey lives up to expectations, we'll see. Going to be very interesting. But that's it's in the past. Let's move on to Ohio State and Oregon. What an absolute debacle. It started early and often in this one for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Absolutely unbelievable.
Over to the right guard, and Luke Montgomery played in that Tennessee game in at left guard.
Off the fake down the middle. Caught in stride. Abuka touchdown. Buckeyes on fire.
They were on fire. It didn't stop there.
See if they take a shot here. Howard looking to launch right down the middle. Smith is wide open. Too easy.
One play off.
Oh, and before that, forget about this one.
On islands, they're going to need to hold up against these receivers.
They get to Judkins again. And there is Smith roaming free. Breaks a tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly from 45 yards.
And then this one.
His upper vertebrae. Those are 2 big guys to be out for Oregon right now. I'll try to keep you updated.
And the bad news gets worse. Trevion Henderson is loose down the sidelines. All the way to the end zone. It's a Crimson avalanche here in Pasadena. 66 yards.
He wasn't done either.
Toss sweep. Henderson has blockers and just gallops into the end zone. Again, Ohio State makes it look easy. Second touchdown for number 32 today.
Here's the lone highlight in the game for the Oregon Ducks.
A lot of time on the play clock. Gabriel from the pocket, scanning. Nobody open on the run. Can he get there? Flips it late and touchdown. He finds Trayshawn Holden in the back of the end zone. And with triple zeros on the clock.
Yeah, made it 34-8, and that was it. The second half, Oregon did outscore Ohio State 13-7. But what a debacle and ass whooping! And I think there's going to be a lot of apologists out there. And I'm trying to think. Number one for James Franklin at Penn State. Number one, there'll be some apologists. There should be some apologists out there. And 2, you got to talk about Will Howard and what he did and what he has done. 17-26, 319 yards. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Dylan Gabriel had 299 yards, 29-41, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. But this is the one, Angel, didn't see it coming. What was it? Back in the regular season, the Ducks squeaked out the Ducks squeaked out a couple of wins. They squeaked out a win against Boise State, which people really want to forget about that. Barely. Should have probably lost that game. They probably should have lost at Wisconsin earlier in the season, too, or later in the season. They pulled that out of their butt cheeks. their butt in the last couple of minutes there. And then the Ohio State game, which was a one-score game earlier this year, right? What was it, 32-31, 33-3, whatever it was. I did not see this coming. Not that Ohio State wasn't going to score 41. That doesn't surprise me. The fact that the Ducks were so out of it defensively early on in this game, I mean, they got obliterated, absolutely obliterated. 41-21 doesn't do this game justice, but I thought it'd be maybe 40-37, something like that. I did not expect Ohio State to just steamroll the Ducks and squashing them. Quack, quack.
Pretty much. and okay, I know they got that crazy deal from Nike, but can we just start getting to like one? Because I can't see the student body buying every single jersey that Oregon Ducks have, but that silver-ish looking chrome dome they had yesterday, I was like, all right, Oregon, I get it, but Ohio State looked freaking really good. Will Howard, and I know that Jay's not a major fan of Will Howard. I interviewed him about a year ago or so, year and a half ago. And I think he's a good kid, huh?
Will Howard, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's a good kid. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't know what his draft stock's going to look like, but I think,
it's going up.
Huh?
It's going up.
Well, yeah. But to me, I don't know. I thought it ended up being a good game yesterday, somewhat there. Better for Ohio State than it was for Oregon. They took the loss.
You kept waiting for Oregon to come back. I kept waiting for Ohio State to.
Yeah, well, you look at Gabriel,
but it never happened. It really never. It was 34-0 before you could blink in the second quarter.
Yeah,
I mean, it was over. I mean, there was no way that Oregon was coming back from that type of day. I said going in, 14-0. I was like, okay, a lot of teams get down 2 scores, even 3 scores, 21-0. I'm like, all right, they got to get something here. And then it just got worse and worse and worse for Oregon. And it's next thing you know, it's 34-0. They give up the garbage touchdown at the end of the first half. But that game was over. There was no way. There was no way to me. There was a 26-point deficit there. I just did not feel it for Oregon that they were capable of coming up without Ohio State shooting themselves in the foot, which they did not do. So James Franklin apologist, hello. Ryan Day apologist, hello. And the Will Howard apologist he's from Pennsylvania, right?
See, Downingtown, Pennsylvania, right outside the city.
Yep. He has played very, very well. And to me, top to bottom, looking at every team so far, I still got Georgia and Notre Dame to go today, hopefully. I think Ohio State looks like the best team in the country right now. Now, that's, it's very subjective on my part. There's no question. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. I'm certainly the Penn State people out there will make the case for them. But, it takes a lot for me to say, because of the Ohio State fan base, particularly down here in Southwest Florida, which is off the chart. It's just like it is in Columbus. But I put all that aside. I love the passion of college football fans. So that's really all I care about. I don't hate Ohio State. I don't hate Michigan. I hate Big Ten and SEC apologists when it comes to some of this stuff. But as far as being a college football fan, huge college football fan, I love it. I think it's great. So I don't hate Ohio State, nor do I hate Michigan. The rivalry, I just love it. I love watching that game every year. It's always fun to see who wins and who loses and the excuses and it's life or death and all of that stuff. But it's just a football game.
So far, the only ones that haven't beat the record is obviously the USF game where you had to wait for 5 overtimes in the Hawaii Bowl to decide the winner of that one.
Yeah, I don't know what time their flight was the next day to come back to South Florida, but Jesus, that was and congratulations USF. That was a great win.
Yeah,
good stuff by them.
Same way, people talk about Alex Golish, Coach Golish, about saying that he should hang it out, blah blah. USF should look otherwise. Listen, 2 years he hasn't gone under 500. 2 years he's won his bowl games. You can't say much. The program's going to get a little bit better. Every stinking year, it's going to happen. And then everybody's just going to wait for a new stadium to open up in 2027. So that's going to be really exciting. And then now bring the fan base, into USF. But holy crap. So if you paid, obviously, for that game, you basically got, 3 games into that one because it was like the 5th overtime. Like, okay, who's going to win this? But, hey, they look good. And congratulations, USF. Look great.
Getting back to Ohio State and the Oregon Ducks, they scored on 6 of their first 7 drives, 4 coming with plays of 40 yards or longer. I mean, those were exciting. They took a 34-0 lead late in the second quarter, as I said, and Oregon was the only nation's unbeaten team, although there were 3 different occasions this year where they could have lost very easily. Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Boise State. They could have lost all 3 of those games very easily, one play away from losing all 3 of those games. But man, that was a royal butt whipping that I just did not see coming at all. And we'll see what happens today. Hopefully, God willing, at the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans today. They're supposed to play 4 o'clock Eastern time, 3 o'clock Central time. Notre Dame and Georgia will go at it. Like I said, I like the Bulldogs are in this one. I believe they're either 1-point favorite or 1-point underdog. Doesn't matter. Let's see. Right now, they are Notre Dame's -1. The total is 45.5. But I like Georgia to win this game. I just do. I think they'll find a way to win, even though their big quarterback is not playing. But Notre Dame has been playing some really good football. There's no question about it. But number 2 and number 3 going at it today. I don't have any preview sound for it. Hang on, I'm trying to find something real quick here. Actually, you know what? Let me see. Do I have Riley Leonard from Notre Dame? I believe I do. No, I don't. I thought we had it. I thought we had some here, but that's okay. So who do you like today, Angel? Quickly, Georgia, Notre Dame. Who do you like?
It's both. Both are good teams. I always have to give the edge to Notre Dame.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Yep. Gunnar Stockton coming in from rural Georgia again, and he's coming in at quarterback. Was put into the SEC title game against Texas. Memorably holding on to the ball with his helmet, was knocked off by a heavy hit. And now comes its first start for the Bulldogs in place of Carson Beck. And there are a lot of people that say this could be actually a blessing in disguise. It could be a blessing in disguise. I am one of those people. I think it is. He's more of a dual threat quarterback here. I think Georgia's going to win by a touchdown. I don't think this game is going to be a blowout in any way, shape, or form. However, we have seen Notre Dame get blown out in the playoffs before. We have seen it. So if one team's going to blow out another, Georgia can blow out Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame can blow out Georgia.
No.
But we shall see. There's a lot to discuss, lots of NFL stuff to talk about as well. I really want to get, when Jay comes on, we'll talk initially about college football and then want to get into the decision to play or not to play for Saquon Barkley, the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get into if the playoffs started today, who would be in, give you the scenarios coming up for this weekend as well in the NFL. And my Patriots, I hope that was one of the most disgusting games I've seen in a long, long time, the way they played against the Chargers. Again, just absolute horrific coaching, and I hope Drake May does not play. It'll be Scrub City, Scrubs versus Scrubs on Sunday when the Patriots entertain the Buffalo Bills. I hope they're smart enough to keep Drake May out of that game. Doesn't matter. It is irrelevant. And the Giants shooting themselves in the foot by winning last week against Indy was fabulous. But we'll get into all of that and a whole lot more. Jay Flanley going to join me from Ann Arbor. We'll see if he was recovered from the Ohio State beatdown of Oregon yesterday. But he's out in cloud high. He beat Alabama. He really doesn't have to feel low, but I could feel some of his energy being drained each Ohio State score because they were happening so quickly. We'll get his thoughts on all of that as well. Coming up here, the Pete Sheppard Show, and hour number 2 commences here on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Hey everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them, sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
For the best in college football and NFL talk, check out The Pete Sheppard Show, 7 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday.
Luke Montgomery played in that Tennessee game in at left guard.
Off the fake down the middle. Caught in stride. Ibuka touchdown. Buckeyes on fire.
Not only is there more cowbell, there's more Ohio State touchdowns. They just scored again. And as myself and people like Brett McMurphy were saying, Jay Finley joining us from Ann Arbor, maybe if Oregon switched uniforms at halftime and put on Michigan uniforms, it might have been a more competitive game. Your thoughts? Good morning to Jay Finley in Ann Arbor. But I'm saying a lot of people are saying they should just come out with Michigan uniforms in the second half, and maybe they'll show up. What a debacle!
Well, obviously, Happy New Year to you, Pete and Angel. Glad to be back after the holiday break. I'm proud of Ohio State. They scored more than 10 points. Congratulations. Those seniors, they ever beat Michigan?
Who cares?
No, this is where you're wrong. They tried to start the fight over the flag, so they clearly care.
I grant you all of that. I grant you all of that. But that is in the past. We're talking about now. And you cannot tell me. You got to let go of the hate. And objectively, looking at every single college football playoff game that you've seen so far, you cannot tell me Ohio State doesn't look like the best team. And Penn State's not too far behind.
SMU did. I'm kidding. Yes. No.
Well, I wish SMU had scored that first touchdown. Things might have, I still think. But it is what it is.
You're talking about the where the kid dropped the ball in the end zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, give Ohio State credit. We kind of took their manhood away, and they had to reassess themselves, and they've come back and played really well. They still haven't done what their ultimate goal is. They have 3 goals every year. We stopped 2 of them, and there's only 1 goal left in life, so they're going to be 330 hitters. So there you go. So congrats
you
to
would like
Ryan.
to be a 3. You would like to be a 330 hitter in this situation, right? I mean,
No,
congrats.
we had a team that hit 1,000 last year that didn't lose a game. But but they lost 2 games. That's the whole thing with this now. And you talked about it earlier with the targeting play in the Arizona State game, which that clearly was about Texas is the big brand, the big money. We need them to win. Let's not decide the game on that call. That's what that was. And anybody who knows anything about football, and you and Angel talked about it in the first hour, that was 100% targeting. My buddy Jake Butt from the Big Ten in Michigan football posted it, and the definition of targeting, they met every criteria of it. It was ridiculous.
Well, we played the Van Pelt cut earlier today. With he was the targeting play. Maybe we could play that video again real quick, Angel, if we can, from this morning with Scott Van Pelt and Dusty Dvorak.
I'm excited though. I was excited that Scott Van Pelt gets to talk about college football playoffs because the Maryland guy had never been in the frickin' game. So that's so there you go. So I'm bringing the noise today, Pete.
Well, I know, but you gotta let go of the hate and just look at it. There's a lot of teams I hate too. See, I don't hate Michigan, nor do I hate Ohio State. I hate Big Ten and SEC apologists for when their fucking team doesn't win or this other team wins, and they can't look at stuff objectively. And right now, goddammit, whether you want to admit it or not, Ohio State looks like the best team in the country. I don't care if they lost to Michigan early in the year when they should have. I don't care. Oregon should have lost to Boise State. They should have lost to Wisconsin. They should have lost. You can talk about James Franklin and all this shit. The guy's done.
They have a good team.
The guy's won. Ohio State looks like the best team in the country right now, and you and your Wolverines, it must have been a blessing in disguise. And the wake-up call that they needed, exactly what you just said. It was a great point. It was the wake-up call that they needed. So if Ohio State was the national championship, I blame you. I blame you and Michigan Wolverines for winning that game. For winning that game. That's what that's how you got to look at it. Hey, we woke them up.
Yes, it's a good point, and I think this is part of what happened to the Ducks yesterday, where you haven't had to deal with that. And remember, the Buckeyes lost twice. They lost to us and the Ducks. So I think when you reassess your team, yes, but we beat them by 3 points. No, in their own stadium.
Hang on one second. The way you beat them was way more impressive than what happened against early 1 point loss. But that was a different kind of beatdown. Yeah.
Pete, they scored as many points as you and I did in the second half of that game. I'm sorry if I upset my Buckeye friends. Actually, I don't have any. That they can continue to be upset about this. Actually, that's wrong. One of my great U of M guys went home to Columbus to play for the Buckeyes, Joey, and he and his family love those guys. Won multiple championships here in baseball and football. But it's listen. What you just said, and we've talked about them losing. They also had to reshuffle their O-line with the injuries they've had. I believe Herb Street and some of the other guys mentioned they have one guy who's in his original spot from game 1 in the O-line. Howard Will played good, and the receiver obviously is a freak show. He's an NFL player now as a freshman. He's 100 times better than Marvin Harrison Jr. And the defense playing really, really well. Caleb Downs and a bunch of their players are first-round draft picks.
But the big plays that Oregon let up, I mean, just one after another, and one after another. They were hurt
by the layup and the reschedule. The setup, the way this is set up, Oregon somehow got punished for being the number 1 seed because they had to play the Buckeyes, and they also the long layoff. They didn't look right. And I've told you this almost all year. Dylan Gabriel really isn't that good. He's like a Colt McCoy, a really good college player, but he's not an elite player. He's compared to Bo Nix all the time. Bo Nix is 100 times better than he is. And the other part of it was,
you think he's 100 times better. It's not like he had a bad game yesterday. He had.
I just don't. He doesn't have wild talent. I'll give you a great example. The Arizona State kid wowed me way more than he did in their game. And I think yours sucks. I just don't like Dylan Gabriel. Part of it is he looks weird because of the lefty stuff. I'm just not a huge fan. And there's a reason why he's been in college 18 years.
You're an anti-leftite.
No. It just looks different. No, I love Steve Young and Boomer Esiason and those type of guys. It just looks different.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. He doesn't wow me. And there's a reason why he's on his third college team. I mean, Jesus.
But let's not remember that. Look, besides the targeting call, which I think would have changed the game, there's a good chance Arizona State would have won that. However,
the kicker,
you go back. Well, the kicker missed a couple field goals, and then 3 times stopped Arizona State was on 4th down in Texas territory. Texas also blocked a 36-yard field goal at the end of the first half. So both, besides the targeting call that should have been called, no question about it. Both teams had, and then how about the 4th and 13 they give up a touchdown pass? I mean, maybe that's the play there's so many, and not to mention Scatterboo thrown up on the sideline. That kid, have you ever seen anybody give more of their all in a game? That was it was
awesome.
Just absolutely.
He's shorter than me too. I like that. It's
MVP on a losing team.
He's like a smaller Mike Allstott. He's who I saw when I was here at Michigan.
One of my favorite people of all time. Yep.
Oh, well, he's a big executive. He's an executive for the Buccaneers. He works for the Bucs.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great game. I love Coach Dillingham. And again, you were joking earlier about Franklin and Ryan Day. This Sarkisian guy. Oh my God. Hey, there's so many of these guys that are in charge of these elite power programs that are just dopes. And they're just like, there's a reason why Nick Saban has this look to him when he's on TV half the time. He goes, I could show up tonight and whip these guys. and it's just, and I watched Harbaugh for years, who makes me nuts at times, but just a tighter ship than these guys. And Sarkisian probably has about 20 5 or 4-star players, and Arizona State doesn't have any, and Dillingham's got them in the game. You mentioned Boise State, Penn State game. That was interesting. I know they contained Genty. He still had about 130-ish, right?
No,
about
he had 102 or something like that. And 26
of those. Bill Carter got hurt.
Yeah, but only 3.5 yards. I mean, they did an unbelievable. I wasn't sure they were capable of doing it. This is one of those games. I thought if I had to pick an upset, real big, I would have said. I think Boise State. I thought Genty was going to be able to do. If he couldn't do it on the ground, I thought he'd be able to do it catching the football, but he fumbled twice. He fumbled twice all year. He fumbled twice in that game. And so I gave Penn State a lot of credit for the game plan.
Yeah, their quarterback's limited. That's part of what the thing is. I'll say this, to get back to Ohio State. Penn State's the type of team that Ohio State's not going to play that good again the next game. They're good, but they're not going to play like that. If they play like that, they could beat the 1978 Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think Penn State, now we got to see where Abdul Carter is, because obviously a huge part of their team. But Alar's playing really well. They have like 4 first-round draft picks on that team. Singleton, the tight end, 44, Abdul Carter, and Alar next year's draft. And now Alar is kind of hit and miss, but he's got a lot of J.J. McCarthy to him, where there's upside with him, and he's not utilized. They didn't ask him to do a lot, and he's doing it. I don't think a lot of Howard will. There's a joke with that. I'm calling him his name backwards. I do that. And
he's played very well in both games.
Yep. I mean, I saw him score 10 whole points against us.
Bringing it back to Michigan, it's irrelevant. It's not relevant.
That's all they care about.
It's a rivalry. Come on, Jay. It's a rivalry fucking game. That's always going to. You never know who's going to win that game. Your game has nothing to do with how he's playing now in this situation. Nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter if you beat them 100 times in a row. They're in the semifinals. You're sitting in Ann Arbor. Gloating about a win against Alabama, which you should. I wish my Hurricanes were there. How do you think I feel about Miami? I can't go back to 2001, 2000, 2000. I can't do it anymore. Cam Woods has been in the playoff. The best offense in the country was sitting there, falling to Iowa State. At least they would have made it. At least if they got in the playoffs, I could say they might have lost any of these teams 50-49, but it would have been entertaining. They wouldn't have got humiliated like Oregon did. Now, I want to know who you're going to root for next week. Texas, you say Ohio State's not going to play as well against Texas. I disagree. And I will go with the fact, and usually I don't do this. If Arizona State's going to put up 31, even though it was in overtime, what do you think Ohio State's going to put up? Now, it took a half to get Arizona State.
More than 10?
Oh, I think Ohio State's going to beat them.
The game's in the Cotton Bowl, right?
Yeah, who cares? It's their backyard.
Well, that's
backyard. It's the backyard of Texas. Yeah,
I know, but we'll see. I don't like Texas's team. I don't like the quarterback. I don't like the coach.
You're not going to watch.
I mean, no. Are you asking me to assess it?
I am.
I don't like I don't like yours or Sarkisian. So by the way, the thing that was interesting to me, and I had different scouting friends and people texting me this. They didn't put Arch in the game at all, which was weird. Because they usually have a couple packages and they put him in, like what we did with Cade McNamara and J.J. McCarthy in 21. So it was interesting to me. But again, I'm trying to figure out Sarkisian as a dope.
I'm trying to figure out what's your mental state going to be if it ends up being Ohio State and Penn State in the national championship? Are you going to be okay?
Go fight on state. I mean, no, I want the Nittany Lions field goal to win. But that would be funny for me. A guy I've mocked for about 10 years in Franklin versus Grecian formula, what's Hair Club for Men or whatever the hell it is he puts in his beard. So it is what it is. I mean, it's hey, we got ours. Let them have their fun. Who cares? I mean, I'm sure they'll have some obsession about us.
You're not in that camp of Michigan people or Ohio State people, for that matter, that winning the national championship isn't as important as beating,
Oh, no. But that's how they think. That's how they think, Pete.
But it kind of sounds like you're thinking that way, too.
No, I'm messing that way. Pete, I'm walking the dog in the yard. That's what I'm showing them the trophies, and then I'm giving them the equivalent of college football blue balls. Okay, that's what it is. It's just the way it is, and it's just I don't. They listen. If they took their medicine and didn't start the fight with the stupid flag shit, which I think is stupid anyways. But they started it, and then, Sawyer talking to Mason Graham, who I'm sure Mason will have Sawyer over to mow his lawn in a couple of years when he's not playing football anymore. It's just the way it is. I mean, it's these guys. I am not the typical Michigan guy. I hate Michigan State. I have no use for them. Okay, nothing. I don't want them around. Ohio State, I have great respect for. When I first came to Michigan, our head coach was Gary Moeller, who was a captain for Woody Hayes. So I always had respect for him. By the way, when we were here, we used to kill Ohio State. I was here for the John Cooper years. Okay? Then they brought in Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer, and they started cheating heavily, and they were winning every year. So the things were going on, but Coach Harbaugh came in here. He got his ass kicked for the first half of his time, and in the last 3 years, actually, we handled them, and Sharon's taken over. So I'm excited for our team, where we're going. That was a great win by the boys. Hopefully Davis Warren is okay. I think he's got a serious leg injury. But that was a great win by our team. We're going to be a top 10 team next year. We'll be back in the playoffs, and we'll see how things go. But it is what it is. Congrats to Ohio State for spending $25 million to lose 2 games.
Oh, stop with that crap. Come on. I mean, you wish you spent $25 million or were in the same game. Come on. It's, well, you got to separate that kind of stuff. That's the way college sports is now. It's a total business. It's the,
I know. Don't ask me how we just got our quarterback. Just how we just got our quarterback. So there you go.
No shit. No shit. And Cam Ward's going to look like a bargain after, last year. Hopefully this guy Likey coming in.
Pete, what did you think of them firing the defensive coordinator of the Hurricanes?
Oh, absolutely. It should have been done halfway after Game 5. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. You're not. Are you a big Cristobal guy? He's not a good game coach. He's a very good recruiter.
I mean, he has his ups and downs in game coaching. I mean, I think there's a lot more positives than negatives. I mean, it's just the question of their the defense cost them 3 games this year. I mean, all 3. Absolutely cost them all 3. Not Cam Ward or lack of playing, and even the 3. Go look at the 3 losses that they had. Had nothing to do with him. Nothing to do with him. It had to do with the defense and lack of adjustments that were made or not made by the Canes. But I'm hopefully
not have a good defensive coordinator.
It's mind-boggling to me.
They have alumni guys. Hire Ed Reed.
Well, I will, but again, here we go. I don't know. Sometimes
he's coaching. Isn't he coaching like a small college team?
Yeah.
Hire Ed Reed.
Yeah. Look, sometimes the greatest players in the world do not end up being the best coaches. I've learned that. Larry Bird was one of the few exceptions. Not only was he coach of the year, he was executive of the year as well. But those are those type of things. Yeah, those type of things are far and few between. But they got to do stuff now. I believe they have a 5-star recruit coming in, Likey, the quarterback. He's a 4 or 5-star recruit. He's a Lamar Jackson type. Some say could be better than him as far as dual threat. So, but I'm not worried about the Canes offense next year. I'm worried about the defense, and we'll see. But it's in the past. I can't think about it. All I know is Ohio State right now is a 6-point. This is what they think. That's what Vegas thinks that Texas playing in their backyard. Ohio State's favored by 6. It's one of the and now we'll find out if Penn State. I believe I saw the future lines. If they play Georgia or Notre Dame, if they play Georgia, Georgia would be favored by 2. If they play Notre Dame, Penn State would be favored by 1. Something like that. Either way, it's like
I actually think Notre Dame's gonna win, but in a strange way, I think Beck being hurt.
I said the same thing.
Is an odd variable here. First of all, if you've been paying attention, the Georgia players don't like the kid, and there's a lot of stuff floating around there. If you look, you can find it pretty easily. They like this kid. He's got more of a running element. They're more of a defensive running type of team, anyways. So I think getting off of Beck and then the fool tore up his elbow and then cleared for the NFL. I mean, who's advising this kid? Drives around in a Lamborghini on campus. Just not. I mean, why didn't you just run around the Batmobile?
What?
I mean, like Joe Burrow. But I mean, if you don't know, Joe Burrow bought the real Batmobile when he was on the Bengals.
Yep.
It's in the Hard Knocks. He's talking to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins about it. But no, it is what it is. But I think Notre Dame's really good. But clearly, you are correct. We should just all cancel the games and give the title to Ohio State. Just like they did to the 07 Patriots, right, Pete?
I didn't say that. Nothing's going to be handed to them on silver platter. But I'm
just forecasting. Strange things can happen. We lost the Super Bowl to friggin' Nick Foles. Okay, so who's now at Burger World handing out fries.
Not only that, with Brady playing his best playoff game ever, with 500 yards passing, no interceptions, and I don't know 5 touchdowns. Anyway, but it's living.
Happy New Year, Pete.
But I agree. I was talking about before you came on about how the Carson Beck injury might be a blessing in disguise because Georgia's more of a dual threat quarterback here.
I'm surprised that kid's alive after that hit he took. Jesus Christ, was that bad?
I know.
He's doing the giant cockroach on the field for 5 minutes.
But overall this year, and this is why, and it's never going to be a perfect system. It's not a perfect system in March Madness. It's not going to be a perfect system here. But overall, besides the drama yesterday of Texas beating Arizona State 39-31 in overtime, it has been a much of a drama-free college football playoff thus far. It really has. A little bit disappointing.
Too many teams. Too many teams. They should do
Oh,
8.
I disagree. No, I want more teams.
You should either do 8. You should either do 8 or 16.
Well,
12 isn't the right number.
I think it'll be 14 and then 16. You know, and you're never going to, once the 16 come in, you're never going to have, it's the 17th and 18th teams are going to be, it's too bad Michigan wasn't playing the way they were at the end of the season like they did. And look, Alabama, it's not like Alabama rested a whole bunch of players either. So that was a really, that was a, and the mighty SEC, I know the ACC is like 1-8 or 1-9, but the mighty SEC. I mean, Tennessee got shellacked. Tennessee got shellacked. Indiana got shellacked in the Big Ten.
Villanova beat South Carolina. Had Beamer losing his mind. They're trying to fight him.
Yeah,
and I mean the Big Ten. But Pete, these things go in cycles. The SEC is a very good league. We had a lot of good teams this year. I mean. I'm wearing the 21 Michigan team, the Aiden Hutchinson, Hassan Haskins, Caden McNamara team. That team was awesome for us. We ran into Georgia with, Jordan Davis and all those guys and Bowers and all the great players they had. So, I mean, half their defense is on the Eagles' front seven. They've got 4 starters from the team is on Angels, Eagles. But, no, it is what it is. It's an up and down. Things go in cycles. And, you got to look at the what network carries who, and the ESPN is very pro SEC, and obviously Saban's there. But, the Big Ten is a pretty good league. The SEC is a pretty good league. The ACC traditionally has been good, but Florida State is way down. Miami had a good team. Clemson is what they are. We'll see.
At least Clemson put up a fight. Down the stretch. I mean, but
I love Klubnik.
I think for me, watching Tennessee get them obliterated, they were obliterated in that game too, almost as badly as Ohio State beat Oregon. In a lot of ways, it was worse what they did to Tennessee. Is that they just blasted them, which is
I think you have too many teams. You have too many teams. Listen, if I could have added 2 teams just for entertainment value. Your Hurricanes in Colorado.
Colorado got obliterated too, and they didn't tap out. They had everybody playing, and they got killed. I mean, by BYU. And BYU is probably a better team overall than Colorado. Top to bottom, they are.
No, you're right.
That's why I think you need more. That's why I don't think it would have been nice. I would have been nice to see Miami, Alabama, BYU, and Colorado win it. Would have been nice. It would have been interesting. See, people have this thing that there's never going to be any upsets. Well, I mean, of course, there are going to be upsets. It happens. I don't think these schools, as I've said time and time again, with NIL and the transfer portal, the gap has closed significantly, and you're going to see more of that next year as well. Absolutely, we're going to see more of that next year. There's just not this big a gap where you just hand trophies to the Big Ten and the SEC just for showing up. It's not. It's the gap is closing now. It could be an all Big Ten championship this year. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Ohio State's going to get there, but I don't think I'm not sure about Penn State. I still think Georgia's got the best shot.
Don't do that to field goal. Come on, be nice. Don't do that to field goal, Pete. Come on.
I hope he wins by a field goal, and then I hope he beats Ohio State. You'll be rooting for him against Ohio State if they play.
Well, question. I'm actually coming around on him. I thought the thing with him and Nick Saban yesterday was awesome. If you haven't seen that, where Saban joked them, because Franklin had a good idea.
Kick their ass. I'd fire their ass.
Yeah, but the one, when the Dez kid from Oregon, right?
Yeah,
the receiver. Where he's from Mobile, and they didn't recruit him at Alabama. But I'm talking about Franklin went on after their game. And Saban brings him on and says, "Hey, I'm glad to have Coach Franklin here." And he's like, "Do you still want me to be the commissioner of college football?" And it was so funny because Franklin's campaigning for Saban to be the commissioner of college football. And by the way, it's not that stupid an idea; it's actually a good idea. And because they do need somebody to be in charge of this thing,
they have to tweak it, or at least reseeding. Yeah. At least reseeding, they're going to have. Now, I know the answer. March Madness doesn't do that. March Madness doesn't reseed either. They don't reseed.
Yeah, but they do the snake thing. They do the snake thing, which is It's like a pod system. So the
yeah, but it's still. I mean, the worst game you can. What's the worst? Once you get past the play-in and you won, it's 1-16.
Mm-hmm.
What is the worst seeding you can get in any bracket? There's two. It's one.
Well, 2 and 15 and 8 and 9.
No, they're both playing the same game.
8 and 9.
Yes, because you get the number one no matter what. I mean, and there's a lot of good 8-9 teams that are very, very good that probably could have been 7-10 teams or even 6-12 teams, but they get in that 8-9 game. You're like, oh shit! Now I got to play the number one seed. That's the worst seed you can get is an 8-9. Now, look, there's been plenty of upsets. Those plenty of 8-9 or 8 seed or 9 seed have gone on to be the number one. Not saying that, but I think in college football, at least initially, you have to tweak it, or we have to come up with there's got to be a scenario where at least at the end of the season that it guaranteed that the 12 best teams get in. Before we start doing BACS, the 12 best teams have got to get in, and then you can start tweaking it a little bit.
No, it's interesting. Interesting to see
conference championships and where where do you stand?
Or don't have conference championship games.
I think too much money. That'll never happen. Too much money.
Well, no, that's exactly why. Yes, it's too much money because they've kind of replaced the bowls. Because the bowls don't make the money they used to, because obviously the bigger teams are in the playoff games. So it's all math and things. These are things for people like Ward and others that are much smarter than you and me. Or at least they're smarter than you. I don't know. I don't know. Angel and I had military trained brains, so there you go.
Yeah.
But no, it is what it is. So, Pete, should we discuss what I sent you about Milroe?
Oh, I saw the. I did.
It's in your Twitter. It's in your Twitter. I am.
Yeah, here it is, right here. Hang on, Yeah, it's in my Twitter. I am. Hang on. There's no sound on it.
It doesn't need it. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, tipping place. Oh no, absolutely. I was thinking that to myself. He kind of admitted it after the game, didn't he? He admitted it.
Yeah. We've known about that the last 2 games.
Well, and speaking of tipping plays, what about this scenario yesterday late in the game? Was it an overtime or late in the game where Arizona State, you had Scatterboo lined up 6 yards behind the quarterback, and you knew it was going to be quarterback sneak, and they didn't get it. Or they did get it. They did get it by the skin of their teeth, but that was like, obviously he's not getting the ball. One of the best running backs in the country. I thought that was one of Dillingham's bad mistakes. One of them, maybe the only mistake he made in the game, and it ended up working out for him. But an interesting.
No, a lot of these things, when you just watch tape, you notice things. So, to explain what Pete and I were just talking, Milroe, based on where Milroe's feet are, if his feet are unbalanced, like if he has one foot in front of the other, it's a pass. When his feet are together, it's a run, and they're almost always in shotgun. So when you're a defensive player, and these are what scouting and coaching people call tells.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Poker players, too.
This gives the play away. And so you wonder why guys get off where they look like they're jumping a snap count because they know what the play is. One of my friends in another league had a similar problem over about a 2-year period. And this was brought to my attention by another scout. And very similar to what Milroe was doing, where his feet, he's in shotgun, his foot's in front, it's a pass, that type of thing. So I brought this to the attention of my friend. He corrected it, and they kicked the bejesus out of the team. And they lost like 5 games, 4 out of 5 to them, and didn't play well. And then the next game, they destroyed them. So stuff like that goes on. There's other indicators, very much like pitchers, like certain pitchers when they hold their glove in close.
Oh, yeah.
That's a curveball, things like that.
Or you see a lot of times you can tell a pitcher, if he's
high hands,
you could tell if he's doing it. And it's little things like that. I used to be able to pick that stuff up in Babe Ruth. And, I played base. There weren't a lot of kids, it's 13.
So the Jerry Rice one?
Yeah.
You know the Jerry Rice one? This is awesome. Up until about like 1991, Jerry Rice, when he'd come out of he'd go line up, and where he held his hands would tell you if it was a run or a pass. It was 100% tell. You should talk to Coach Belichick. You had Belichick for years. He told the Orlando Brown one was the one he famously talked about. Zeus, Orlando Brown on the Browns. But Jerry Rice, by his stance, and this is part of why the Giants used to beat them, would know the play. Like where his hands were. If his hands were by his side, I can't do it standing up. Or he'd have active hands. Bullet Bob Hayes was like this too in the 60s and 70s for the Cowboys. So this got around. And finally, one of the former Giants, I think it was Jim Burt, told Jerry, and he stopped doing it.
You know who else had a bad habit with that? Not as much as Jerry Rice. It's a great point you bring up, by the way. Randy Moss.
Every once in a while, I get one right, Pete.
Randy Moss, at times, and I don't care who it was, who was playing for, the Minnesota, the Patriots, didn't matter. Oakland at the end, you could tell by his hands if he was involved in the play or not. You could absolutely tell, and if he wasn't, he would dog it a lot. And even sometimes with the Patriots, if he wasn't involved, and not so much the 07 year, but after that, you could tell time to time, Randy Moss, you knew. You didn't know the play exactly, but you knew that he was not going to be involved by his body language in the first 2 seconds, So
probably the best receiver I've ever seen.
Oh, I agree. Pure talent wise, Jerry Rice, number one.
He's a better player. Jerry's a better player than he was. But,
yeah.
But he just had more. I mean, Randy, and let's hope Randy's doing okay with his health problems.
Yeah, absolutely bad.
He's a very underrated good guy. He doesn't get enough credit for that. He's a good dude.
Yep. All right, Jake Blandley here. I want to keep on going. No break. Let's keep on going. I want to get to the end. You got a few more minutes to hang out?
Oh, gosh, no breaks, Pete. Let's go, baby.
All right. Nick Sirianni on resting Saquon Barkley here.
Oh, do you have to do this to Angel? Do you have to bring up poor Sirianni? Do you had him hidden in the back or something? I mean, Jesus.
Well, it's an interesting subject.
He is an easy whipping boy. He really is, isn't he?
Saquon specifically, what was the consideration in allowing him to pursue that record and then ultimately deciding not to?
Yeah, again, not going to get into all that. I mean, obviously a lot plays into it. Obviously, it's a very special record that's been
it's not.
Standing for a very long time by a great player.
Oh, not that long.
It's a team record that everybody's involved in. So you weigh in all those things, but at the end of the day, you just try to do what's best for the team. Again, when the bye was, how guys are feeling, the bumps and bruises we can take care of. We've put ourselves in a position to be able to, let's say, be in this situation, and so. Our goals, are to have success and to have a good, play good the next game we play, not only New York, but whoever we play after that. And so, we think that this plays into that. So it's
all right. I want to play one more cut here. I want to play one more cut from Saquon Barkley. His reaction to all of this.
Reaction to finding out you're not going to play on Sunday.
Yeah, Coach asked me, what I like to do. We had a conversation. He called me back, let me know that we're probably going to be resting. And my reaction was kind of like I told my family. Obviously, my family, probably wanted a little bit more than me. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is winning football games and winning the playoffs. So I got a big goal in mind.
What was your message to Nick when he did ask?
I mean, he asked me if I wanted to play, if I want to go for it. I said on Sunday, I probably didn't care too much for it. When I slept on it, it was an opportunity to implant my name in football history. I may never get another opportunity like that again. So I'm down, but at the end of the day, I don't care for putting the team at risk. He's the head coach for a reason. He makes those decisions, and whatever decision he wanted to make, I let him know if you want me to play, I'm going to go out there and make sure I get it. And if we don't, I'm okay with that too.
All right. Look, I don't think there's any definitive right or wrong answer for this particular topic, which is why it's a great topic when there is that gray area. I'm trying to relate it. If this guy was on my team, my Patriots, would I want him.
He wouldn't be setting any records on the Patriots.
Well, knowing that the Eagles have clinched the number 2 spot and more than likely going to play probably the Packers, which is a great 7th seed, by the way.
Yes.
But my personal feeling is I would not play him this week. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't risk it. I'm a nostalgia guy. I get it. I'll tell you, Belichick was a nostalgia guy too. Belichick might have played him in this game, believe him, but more than likely than not. More likely than not. Yeah, well, he had Welker in. He had a thing for Vinny Testaverde. He let Flutie kick the drop kick, but those weren't in situations like this. Those are kind of unique situations that it didn't put them at risk for losing his seeding or anything like that. This doesn't put the Eagles at risk as well, but I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. Personally, I wouldn't play him. He seems okay with it. If he wasn't okay with it and his team wasn't okay with it, that's a different story. And I'm sure a lot of his teammates want him to go for it, but I think they respect Saquon's decision, at least for what he sounds fairly sincere to me that, hey, coach's decision, I'm okay with it. Look, I don't need to beat Eric Dickerson's record, but I wanted to know how you guys feel about it.
No, it's they're trying to win a Super Bowl. It has a lot to do with the player. If the player wants to do it, and remember, it's a team stat, but doesn't he need like 130 yards?
101.
Okay. No, they're trying to win the Super Bowl, and they're good enough. And too many bad things can happen. I was half joking about Wes Welker in 2009. The Patriots didn't have anything to play for in the 2009 last game in Houston.
That was horrible.
ACL. Yeah.
Wes
Welker towards the ACL. Then the Patriots went in and played the Ravens, and Ray Rice went for 83 on the first play of the game, and I started throwing things out of my window.
Let me let me get Angel's take on this too, since he is our resident gigantic Eagle fan. And let me throw this in.
He loves Nick Sirianni.
Well, Nick Sirianni is damned if he does and damned if he doesn't, in this situation. It doesn't matter. He's going to, people are going to go after him. My thing is would this be a bigger deal if the Eagles were not hosting the Giants, the team he came from if they were playing, I don't know, the Colts or the Patriots or something like that, would it matter as much? Go ahead.
That's a good question.
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to bring in my outer and inner Aaron Rodgers. I wanted Saquon to watch a lot of the candles and worm spale or whatever else he likes to call, but I said to him he needs to do a couple of woosahs and relax. We needed him during the postseason. It is much deserved time off. Now, listen, first of all, am I in agreement with it? If I'm being honest with myself, 70% of me says he should have went for the record because there's nothing guaranteed to say you're going to be back next year to do the same thing because anything can happen during the offseason. So for me, I think Saquon, if anything, at least go for the record because I think it was Rick who just put up there in the comments that, where was it? Something about the injury. Eagles aren't guaranteed a Super Bowl and appearance, and he could get hurt in practice. So I am 70% convinced that he should have been in there. But listen, it's Nick Sirianni. Everybody knows exactly how I feel. 2025 does not change me towards Nick Sirianni. But I think to me, it should have been where they should have let him at least break the record. Now, if it was a Saquon deal, which I don't see it happening, but if he decided, you know what, I want to let that record stand for another 20 years, then that's on him. But me personally, you could have one carry probably may have gotten you at least 99 yards against the Giants. You come in for a second rush, and that's it. But, I don't think they wanted to burn the Giants.
What about your thoughts on what Saquon said? He sounded pretty sincere to me, like it was not a huge deal. I'm sure he's more focused on this team trying to get to the Super Bowl than he is on breaking Eric Dickerson's record. I mean, it's nice and everything.
It's
not the be all end all of records. It's nice. And what's impressive, which is another reason why I don't think he needs to do this, Angel and Jay, is because he's gotten to where he is, I believe, on 33 or 34 less attempts than Eric Dickerson did.
Yeah. No, and it's
he'd get an extra game. Then he'd get an extra game. But I'm saying he should be very proud of where he is on 30 plus less attempts than Eric Dickerson.
Oh no, he definitely for sure. I mean, if anything, it shows Giants. They should show that video on jumbotron for Giants fans who decided to make the trip down to Philly, which I don't see it happening. But no, by all means, I think he is sincere that he wanted to. It was a couple games ago where he wanted the rookie to come in There are a couple of the other guys that come in so they can take place and have fun inside the game as well. But it's cute that he says that they want to get to the Super Bowl. That's cute. That's really cute. Are they getting to the Super Bowl? No.
You keep saying that. You keep saying that, and I'm telling you that they have going to have a great shot to get there. Look, that's you could. They responded and they rebounded well after the Washington loss. They came back. They've been resilient. They have the best defense in the NFL, top to bottom, offense, defense, special teams. To me, they are number one. They are number one in the NFL. If you look at everything objectively, top to bottom. Now, you want to throw Nick in there? I don't think he's been an issue the last month, if anything. Tell me one play Nick Sirianni's done. You said, "Oh God, that's a coaching decision." Now, could it happen in the future? Possibly, but if you look at everybody, you look at all of these teams objectively, top to bottom. And I'm talking about AFC and the NFC. The Eagles, to me, are number one. The way you talk about injuries and who's injured, who's not injured, and I'm assuming Jalen Hurts coming back for the playoffs, obviously, and that Saquon Barkley will be. But once the playoffs start, objectively, tell me who's a better team from Philadelphia and why, top to bottom. Go.
From top to bottom?
Yeah.
I mean right now, if you're
meaning all three phases of the game. Who do you think is a better team right now in the NFC than Philadelphia? You can make a case for Tampa Bay playing awesome out of their minds right now. But tell me right now, in the AFC and the NFC, why do you think Philadelphia doesn't have a chance to get to the Super Bowl? Who's better than them right now, top to bottom?
No, top to bottom, they look good. Top to bottom, they look good on paper. Top to bottom, Detroit and Minnesota look good on paper. Problem is, who plays on any given Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Wednesday? And my thing is with the Eagles.
Factor everything in. The Lions are banged up right now. If Philadelphia played the Lions today, Philadelphia would win.
Yeah.
I think Philadelphia played Minnesota at home. If Philadelphia played at home against Minnesota, Philadelphia would win. So, you're talking about playing the Chiefs or the Bills in a neutral place or the Ravens. Those are the only three teams I think that can make it to the Super Bowl in the AFC. I think they have a great shot to beat any one of those three teams. Now, could they lose? Of course. But I don't see teams top to bottom, unless the Eagles shoot themselves in the foot and really screw up badly here. Which is possible. We said it for every team as well. I look at it objectively. I'm looking at top to bottom and coaching, all that stuff, and I'm looking at health first and foremost, is why my pick put the Lions getting to the championship probably is not going to happen. But the Eagles, to me, top to bottom, are the best team right now in the NFL.
They are. Right now in the NFL, they are. And I don't want to get on that super high horse like everybody else is at this point. I'm pretty sure back home in Philly, everybody's just, have already written them off. There was a thing not too long ago, I think it was yesterday, we were watching stuff on Instagram. Apparently, I don't know if it was TJ Marshalls or whatever it is, one of the stores, they put out a Minnesota Viking first Super Bowl ever jacket out there. Had the NFL tag on it at whole 9 yards. Someone said, "Oh, is this something that they're already writing the script for the Super Bowl?" And if you look at the colors, I guess like people keep saying year after year, you look at the logos, take a look at the colors that's in the logos. Usually that describes who goes into the Super Bowl. Just coincidence. I'm just saying. But nonetheless, the Eagles right now look like they can actually go to the Super Bowl and win. The problem is they like to shoot themselves in the foot. And then if you have one or two bad plays, I get it. I understand. You know what? You shake it off. You talk amongst each other and you get it straightened out. Problem is with the Eagles is they look at each other like, so what do we do now? I don't know, coach. Oh,
when have they done that? But wait a second, Ian. When have they done that lately? When have they done that? All right, the Washington game is a rival game, whatever. They came back. I told you they're going to beat the shit out of Dallas. They clobbered them. The score wasn't even as close as 40-7, 41-7. I mean, again, tell me one coaching decision Nick Sirianni's made in the last 4 or 5 weeks that you scratch your head and go, God, was it the players fumbling or was it execute? I mean, I'll wait for
the last 4 or 5 weeks. Listen, Nick Sirianni has gone back to who he was beforehand. And whether he straightened things out with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, he's gone. The only thing is, and if he stays a course, the problem is with Nick Sirianni, he doesn't stay the course. He goes all over the place. He takes his own script and looks at it and goes,
in the last 5 weeks, he has stayed the course. He has changed his way.
Right, Pete. The last 4 to 5 weeks. But the problem is we can't depend on the next 4 to 5 weeks.
It's the most important time of the year. This is not last year. You got to get last year out of your head. You have too much last year in you. There's too much hate of last year in you. This guy has learned from his mistakes. There's no question about it. He is coaching differently, and at the point in the season where you need a coach to make all the right decisions, he's making all the right decisions, and so are players.
At the moment. But the problem is that we can't. Listen, I wish I could say tomorrow, you know what? I got $100,000 coming in the mail. I look for it tomorrow. It's not there. The same way
you know what, Angel? The Buffalo Bills will never win the Super Bowl. You know why? Because they've lost 4 straight. They can't do it. They'll never get back there.
Well, they're going to get back there. For sure, Buffalo's going to get back there.
They are? This year?
Buffalo? I don't think not this
year. I don't think it's a guarantee. I think it's Kansas City, Buffalo, or the Ravens.
Kansas City for sure.
I think it's. I don't think there's a guarantee. I think there's a guarantee that one of those 3 will make it. I don't think Houston, the Steelers, the Chargers, or Broncos will make it, or God forbid, the Miami Dolphins sneak in because Denver loses to the Chiefs, who are playing nobody this weekend. That would be I would puke if Miami backdoored in. See, that would be. I would be sick to my proverbial stomach. But
For the moment, I will agree that Nick Sirianni has done well the last 4 to 5 weeks, and if he stays most
of the year. And that opening game when they lost because Saquon Barkley, they lost because Saquon Barkley dropped a pass.
Slow down. I'm not giving them the whole year because the way the year started, it looked just like freaking last year. So I'm not even going with the whole year. The last 4 to 5 weeks, I will give it to him because at least he's done better. It's how he started with the Eagles. So if he remains that way, focused that way, without deterring without telling me to go plant a tree out in the Bahamas and wait for the seeds to grow, as long as he doesn't say any of that nonsense, he's fine. The problem is we don't know what Nick Sirianni we're going to get on any given Sunday. Right now, he's saying doing all the right things. Got these guys.
I can say that about anybody, though, Angel. That's such a generic comment. You can make that about every single coach. Every single one. I don't know. Does Andy Reid revert back to his shitty clock management skills in the game this year? Or does the luck of the Kansas City Chiefs, the quote-unquote luck, even though all they do is win because they don't win by a section, does that run out? I don't know. You think the Vikings are going to go into Tampa Bay? And I don't know. Right now, I pick Tampa Bay. There's a lot of if, buts, whens, and maybes. But if you look at everything right now, of course you could say any given Sunday. That's the proverbial answer for everything. On any given day, you can lose, except Ohio State lately. But on any given day, I hear what you're saying. I just think if you're looking at the NFL playoffs that's currently constituted right now, and it certainly seems like the Eagles are going to host the Green Bay Packers. Should be a hell of a game, but I think that's a game that I think the Eagles will win. They win that game as a 2 seed, and I don't think. You look at would be Washington at the Rams and the Vikings at Tampa Bay, then or the Lions at Tampa Bay, depending on what happens on Sunday night with the Lions and Vikings games. Those two will undoubtedly flip flop. So,
as a fan, I will say that obviously I don't want my Eagles to not go to the Super Bowl. As a fan, as a realist, if they turn around and they host Green Bay and they get spanked by Green Bay, rest assured that I will be at this mic saying, I told you so. Because it's one of those things that you just don't know with Nick Sirianni. Right now, I will still give it to you the last 4 to 5 weeks. Yes, he is on board. And if they lose this Sunday, no big deal. They're going to go into the playoffs. The only good thing that we have going for us was that Kenny Pickett was looking pretty good. And then you get Tanner McKee, and who knew that Tanner McKee would end up lighting it up too? So that's a good thing to have. The problem is we can't afford any more injuries. Well, I say we, like I'm playing for you.
That's true for everybody.
So the funniest thing out of that Eagles game, and I'm glad Angel brought this up. When Tanner McKee went in the game, I had no idea who the hell he was. I was trying to figure out who he was. Oh, that's a Stanford guy they drafted. But it was pretty funny when he went in the game. Of course, he lit it up. So it was pretty funny.
They've won 11 out of 12 games, and one was
how many they have 3 losses or 2 losses?
3.
Okay,
13-3. And again, the Barkley drop in game 1. Remember that?
And then Devontae Smith dropped the one against the Commanders.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but it's funny how much Angel hates Sirianni. It's so damn funny. And by the way, his press conferences and him talking is pretty bad.
Angel knows. He is Mike McDaniel 2.0.
Yes.
Yes.
It is.
It definitely is.
It really has. Now, speaking of that knucklehead, did you hear the exchange that Mike McDaniel had the other day? Hang on, I got to play. I got to find it. Give me one second.
I know what you're talking about.
Unfortunately, it's a short answer, but here is Mike McDaniel and reporter had a misunderstanding.
We're doing something on the grind and what players go through at this time of the year.
Would you say you're grinding on it? All right, cool. All right. Appropriate.
Let's make a funny joke, grinding on it. You might get fired at the end of the season.
He'll be grinding.
Oh, yeah, you've been grinding all right. God almighty.
So listen, Pete, what do you make?
I don't know why. I don't know what it is about his demeanor, the way it's not a bad thing. I cannot, it has nothing. He could be coaching the moonshine idiots on Mars, and I would feel the same way. It doesn't matter that he's in coaching the Miami Dolphins. They will. You talk about coaching, Angel. You talk about that team will never get anywhere with that guy at the helm. Anywhere.
Didn't the GM quit yesterday, resign yesterday?
Chris Greer?
Yeah.
No.
Did he quit?
No.
There was it was out on the socials yesterday, and he was at the the podium.
Really, Chris Greer?
That was up there. Now, whether of course someone was to pull a joke or a prank or something else like that's one thing, but supposedly he basically told the Dolphins he's out.
Really?
Okay, I didn't see that. Look,
maybe he's going to go work for his brother in the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, well, Stephen Ross is going to make changes if they don't make the playoffs. They have to.
So Pete, let me ask you, and Angel, you can chime in on this too because you're a Philly guy. What do you make of these Gruden stories and rumors?
Wait, I missed it. What's the new one on him?
Well, Gruden's name is circulating with NFL. Now he's suing the league, which is another part of the problem.
That's why it's not going to happen.
Okay, there you go.
Because he's working for Barstool Sports now. He make more money with them.
It's a good point.
Isn't he also a head coach somewhere too overseas? He's with Barstool, but he picked up a gig somewhere overseas as a head football
overseas. What's he doing? Coaching the Saudi Arabian stormtroopers? I mean, how many leagues are there, Angel?
I don't know, but that'd be a good team, though.
Australian rules football? I mean, really, what?
I don't know, but it was something he came across. It was like during the summer where he picked up some.
Like the NFL Europe, but I know what you're saying. The sub league. Okay, yeah. I why in the hell would he do that?
Right, I don't know.
I don't think he's doing that anymore. I could be wrong. I think he's strictly working with Barstool right now. He's got enough.
Maybe go back to Hooters where he started back in the day. So
Speaking about Barstool, how about what's the name? Holy crappies! Why am I drawing a blank? Where he went to that pizza shop out in Baltimore?
Oh, David Portnoy. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And
and
that guy has been freaking. He said he's been so busy now at this point just because Dave went over there, and he was being honest. Like Dave's like, listen, I don't want to reheat it. Just give it to me the way it is. And he even when he stepped out the shop, he was like, listen, even for not reheated pizza, this is freaking it's good. But the guy said,
I know Dave a long time. I told you, I almost went to work for him. It was this close. But he also, for that, I believe that's that place in Maryland. What he also did, they were going to shut down. They didn't have money to shut down. He said, and Dave said, what do I need? What do you need? And he goes, well, to get everything going, about $61,000. He goes, done. Didn't even have done.
Yep.
So give the guy a check.
You can have friends like that.
Absolutely. All right, Jay, thanks so much. Great stuff from Ann Arbor. And
Lions, baby.
We'll talk again. We'll talk again next week. Got to take a quick break. And then
Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you.
Happy New Year. Thanks,
Happy
Jay.
New Year, Jay.
And then
thank you, guys.
Bill Sparrow, thanks to Jets. Jake Flannery from Beeves World. Bill Sparrow's from the Boston Herald and Bookies.com. Going to join me next as the Pete Sheppard Show continues. Hour number 3 into 2025 on January 2nd here on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak are Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Hey everybody, it's Pete Sheppard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them, sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Pete Sheppard Show. It's fun for the whole family, if it's dysfunctional.
Oh, sorry about that. The sound sucked without the music. All right, here's Gerard Mayo real quick.
And also, do you expect him to start on Sunday?
You're going to talk to Drake here in a second. Drake's healthy. He'll be at practice today, and we'll see how it goes this week.
Another guy who
He's still in the protocol, so I don't want to get too far down that line.
I wouldn't say we'll see how it goes this week. Referring to Drake, what factors will be at play when deciding whether he starts Sunday?
Yeah, my thing, if you talk to Drake, which you will hear soon, look, he's a competitor. He wants to play, and look, he's still developing, so he'll be ready to go.
So if he wants to play, will he start?
Drake is our starting quarterback. If he's healthy and ready to go as we go through this week of practice, then he'll play.
Today is obviously a very somber day.
Stop it. Okay. All right. Welcome back to Pete Sheppard Show here on the Coastal Sports Network. Bill Sparrows from the Boston Herald and Bookies.com has been patiently awaiting. Let's just get right into it, Bill. What is the word up there? I haven't seen a whole heck of a lot. I don't know who to believe about what side of his mouth he's speaking out of this week. Gerard Mayo, I don't know. I personally wouldn't play him, though it seems like Josh Allen is going to play for Buffalo, at least to start. Now, what does that mean? He plays a series just because he got that record of starts and then sits out? I don't know. Good morning. Happy New Year, Bill. And what is the latest from the beloved Patriots?
Merry New Year.
Merry New Year, as they say in trading places.
Well, first off, Happy New Year.
Yes.
I'm in the third stage of cholera, so I apologize in advance if I cough up what's left of my left lung.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry.
During our little chit chat.
I told you don't run down the street naked on New Year's Eve. How many times am I going to tell you that?
Well, we were in Europe for 12 days, so who knows? Who knows how or why it happened?
Where in Europe, real quick?
France, Germany. Cologne, Strasbourg, and Paris is beautiful. It was a terrific way to spend Christmas. I had a great time with my wife and his son and his fiance.
Oh, that's great.
It was fantastic. And I wrote my Herald column yesterday. We visited Notre Dame in Paris. And, as I noted in the paper, and all the time it took to rebuild Notre Dame from the fire until when it opened last month, the Patriots have still yet to win a playoff game. So you can rebuild a 1,000-year-old cathedral that was gutted by a fire and have 500 craftsmen work like they did in 1163 and rebuild this place. My God, it's so beautiful inside. Everything is meticulously restored. It's bright. It's all light up and actually has heat, unlike every other cathedral in Europe. And yet the Patriots still can't, get their house in order, so to speak.
Only Bill Sparrows.
It sort of struck me. It sort of struck me as a fitting analogy, especially given all the, times the Lord's name has been taken in vain. Watching the Patriots.
Did you watch them in Europe last week against the Chargers? I hope you didn't. I hope you're doing other stuff.
Well, it's funny. There is some internet chicanery that I figured out. That allowed me to, to watch. I watched most of the Buffalo game. Of course, at the time change.
Yeah.
That game kicked off at like 10:30.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we actually went there's a spot in Paris, it's Trocadero Plaza, where they hosted the Olympics. It's where all the TV networks were based. And that's the plaza, and the Eiffel Tower is right across from there. So we actually went there and got back to the hotel. And, I didn't realize the Patriots game had been early that day.
Yeah.
So I managed to catch, a little bit of the third quarter. But I looked this up before I came on. I shared it on social media. They led Buffalo 14-0. I thought that my feed had been hacked in Germany by like Putin or something. I didn't know what I was watching. I thought it was some sort of inverse transmission from 2008. But they promptly choked that one away. Since they had that 14-0 lead, they've been outscored 67-14 in basically 6 quarters and 3.5 minutes. And I'm really, we got back Sunday night. The last 3 days, I've been listening and reading, and I'm really sick and tired of people talking about how, oh, Gerard Mayo needs this one last game. He deserves this one last game. No, I think his fate, one way or another, whether you keep him or you don't keep him, should already have been determined. In other words, what happens on Sunday, no bearing one way or another on his future or the future of anyone in that organization. To me, they had a lead against Buffalo. They had a chance to really they should have won that game.
Yeah.
And that's the game that you win that turns the culture around, that sets the season, that then you go home and maybe you beat LA team that's coming on the Eastern time zone, historically choked in December, and instead you give up 27 points or whatever it is, and basically 2.5 quarters, and then you get destroyed by the Chargers. And to me, those were the two games that the Mayo regime really needed to show that they had laid a foundation, and it was an absolute abject disaster. And so, to me, this weekend's game, to me, it's an exhibition game. It determines nothing.
Yeah, I
If
agree.
they want to sit Drake May and tank for the first pick, and if that's remember, for 23 years we heard best interest of the team. That was Belichick's motto, and everybody wants Belichick. What's in the best interest of the Patriots? Is the best interest of the Patriots to win this weekend or to not win? I don't know the answer to that question, but if they think it's in their best interest not to win, then they should go out and not win. Because to me, the whole we got to win, that was Buffalo, and that was the Los Angeles game. Those were the two games where they really had to show that we got something going here, that this coaching staff and this front office has built something. And instead, to complete the last half of the Buffalo game, and that Chargers game was a 30-year embarrassment. That to me is like that's like Dick McPherson, Rod Russ level.
Rod Russ. Dick, I'll give a little more credit to. At least they won 6 games under him.
Yeah.
And he was charismatic, and I love that.
Yes.
Rod Russ was just, God rest his soul, but that was just, I was there.
Was a Gerard Russ. That was the Gerard Russ game. Was that game against the Chargers, where they were completely out-coached, outplayed, out-hustled. They were just embarrassed. And so I don't really care. I don't want to hear anything about what they should do this week, because it doesn't matter. That mattered last week. It mattered against Buffalo when they had a 14-0 lead on the road. Frankly, I don't. If it were my call, I'd fire everybody today, and
I was me too.
Let the players coach themselves. I don't care. Let the fans do it. But this season has been a complete disaster in so many ways, and literally all they have is the quarterback, and I mean that from Jonathan Kraft on down. You give me Drake May.
I put Gonzalez in there, but after those two,
you give me Drake May, and you can have everyone else in that organization from Robert Kraft on down, and I'm better off.
And it's not, and like all the points you just said, do agree with you 100%. But then you go back and you look at week 2 when Drake May should have been playing. They should have beat the Seahawks. They lose 23-20. The Dolphin game at home when they lost 15-10. They had that game too. That it was an absolute piss poor coaching in that one as well. You look for losing at Tennessee 20-17. Another winnable game came down to freaking one play. You mentioned the Rams game. They lose it. They're actually ahead in that game, but they lose 28-22. And the Colts game, another winnable game. They lose by a point after that ridiculous, Ole 2-point convert, 25-24. They lose that one. And then the Buffalo game, where they absolutely should. I mean, there's 5 games there. They're one play away, which I don't. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise that they didn't, because that would. I don't know. Would that, if they had won those 5 games, and had it be 8-8 going into this week, what would we be thinking? Would we still be thinking that Gerard Mayo is a good coach despite his deficiencies, which I think him and the staff, there are many, and I still don't know how the coordinators have survived, and these offensive linemen have all still survived.
Well, Pete, that's exactly the point. The point is they didn't win those games because of Gerard Mayo and the coordinators.
But what if they did? What if they squeaked it out because of
then fine. That's the whole point. You win. If the Patriots were 8-8 right now, or 8, whatever the math is, 8, I guess it'd be 8-8. If they were 8-8 going into this weekend, and even if they were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, everyone would say, "Oh my God, we're back. We're on the right track." But the problem is they're not. And all those games, you can look at like coaching decisions or mistakes and penalties that occurred due to poor coaching and poor, practice, or however it happens, to where, of course, the players, it's all the players. And, Belichick always said after the Super Bowl, there's a players game and they get the credit. Obviously the players have to execute, but, you have to, it's your job to put them in a position, or their best position, to succeed. Mm-hmm. And as bad as some of these players are, especially the offensive linemen and the receivers who can't catch, I don't think that they were coached to be put in the best possible position.
I think that's 100% accurate. There's no question about it. I think the fact that they won 3 games might be in spite of the coaching staff. It's only, the Cincinnati game, I throw that one out the window. But the other games, that Drake May was involved in, at least, you see incredibly, you do see some development with him in spite of the horrific coaching. In spite of it.
Yeah, and again, he's at the point now where, looking toward next year, his next step is no more mistakes. We know what he can do. We know how he can, he can obviously run the ball. He can obviously open the field, expand the field. He can hit anybody 30, 40 yards downfield. His whole thing next year has got to be like no more fourth quarter interceptions, no more turnovers, no more terrible sacks. So he's got to level up too. He's got the baseline talent. He finally has some NFL games under his belt. There's film on him now that other teams have. So he's got to really, his next step is no more mistakes. And hopefully at the same time, he gets an offensive line that allows him the chance to at least look at second and third receivers before getting pummeled. So, you would think that, a trained chimp could go in there and get him help on the offensive line and bring in at least one real wide receiver in addition to the tight end who's had a pretty good year, and build from there with him. But then you also have to look at the fact that the defense has been absolutely putrid. And, to me, the best argument to moving on from Gerard Mayo is you went with a defensive coach and an offensive coach era, and your defense completely collapsed. And if this guy is so, if he wants to say, well, my coordinator, I have Covington, okay, that's fine. But, the reason why you're there is because you're a defensive guy. And, your defense is like abominable. It's so bad. It's so freaking bad.
Did you see, the Charger game just brought it, and everything you said is 100%. You're sitting there, they're rushing 5, 6 guys, and not even close to Justin Herbert. Not even remotely close. Nothing. What's the matter? Oh, my wife, Peanut Gallery's putting sunglasses on my Scotty Terry. Oh, the dog glasses. All right. Doing the show. Back to work. Anyway, but that was the most, we're sitting there. My buddy Dave and I are sitting there watching. Just the two of us. We're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not just people rushing, but how many seconds that Herbert could have had a tea and crumpet party back there and then throwing a touchdown. I mean, it was embarrassing how bad it was. Lack of creativity. And then I'm thinking, all right, how about a corner blitz? Try anything that is out of the ordinary here, because nothing is working with these standard linebacker blitzes that can't get through A, B, and C gaps. Not even close. They had odd men. Patriots are coming in, one more guy than the Chargers. How many times in that game couldn't get to him? Could not get, not even close.
So obviously you want to say, okay, that's a personnel issue, and it was, but then fine, and get rid of the GM at the same time. Look,
absolutely.
I don't, it's not my team. I wish it were, but I don't know how. And I know we touched on this, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and I have yet to touch upon this in the paper, but we know how aware the Crafts are to public perception. Or I remember when they, the day they brought in Gerard Mayo, Drake May, the Crafts cited that, talked about how one of the papers, which one obviously, had the headline Mayday on the front page. He goes, we have Mayday on the paper. So he's of that era. He reads the papers. I'm sure he's aware of what people think and feel.
Shows are on the talk shows are on.
Yeah. So for them, for the greatest fear for the Patriots heading into next season is that all the eyeballs in New England are tilted southwest, looking at Chapel Hill, and looking at and talking about and writing about what's going on in Carolina and what's he doing down there. People could say what they want to say. It was the same thing when Brady went to Tampa. Oh, nobody cares. Everybody cared about Tampa. I wrote about Tom Brady every day for 3 years. Every week for 3 years for the Herald. They said, write about Tom Brady. I wrote about Tom Brady. Everybody read it.
The WEI picked up the Bucks broadcast on the 850 signal.
Yeah. So it's going to be. Don't think for a minute that it's not going to be the same thing. I mean, Belichick. That's the college football story of the year next year. Because of the portal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know, like, if Ohio State or, Georgia, teams like Georgia are always, reload. Georgia's quarterback, they bring it in. This guy is better than Carson Beck.
Yeah.
But you have, you're going to have a lot of movement this offseason. It's always hard to peg look at Arizona State. They're the best team in the country against the spread this year. They covered yesterday. So you don't know who's going to be good. But, Bill Belichick going to Chapel Hill is a no-brainer for, like, the story of the year, right? So, if you're the Crafts and you bring back these same clowns coaching and running the team, and okay, you get Drake May, maybe you get Travis Hunter, obviously he'll create some buzz. Obviously you need a ton of offensive linemen, a ton of, defensive, secondary front men. There's really nothing the Patriots can do short of maybe hiring Mike Vrabel that's going to really, like, jazz them up this offseason in terms of buzz. I think if they bring in Vrabel, that'll create a ton of buzz.
I think they absolutely should before he goes. And it seems like he wants to be here, wants to be with the Patriots. And I would make the move right now sooner rather than what the hell they're waiting for.
And I tell you, if they don't,
ridiculous.
If Gerard Mayo's the head coach and he has new coordinators, yip-de-doo, and maybe they get Travis Hunter and they say, hey, we got this really dynamic kid in defense who's going to play some offense, and we've got a new offensive line, and maybe we sign T. Higgins or somebody like that. It's a collective yawn when Bill Belichick is roaming the sidelines with his kid in North Carolina and his latest child bride or whoever she is, is running the cheerleader squad or something like that. That, to me, knowing or thinking what I know about the Crafts, that really, to them, it's like they're going to be watching the Brady show all over again. And instead of Tom Brady going to Tampa and winning the Super Bowl, it's going to be Bill Belichick probably, like, running up the score against.
Well, again, the other thing that's
Charlotte and UCF. And people are going to be like, oh, my God, Bill Belichick's building this powerhouse in North Carolina. Let's talk about that. And, oh, by the way, the Patriots still suck.
Yeah. and the recruits are going to be going to him, where he doesn't have to go bouncing around. But he just brought up another great point, and some team, the other day the Jets reportedly interviewed Rex Ryan as for head coach, and Louis Riddick I think would be an excellent GM. I wish the Patriots would go after him and hire him. I think he'd be an excellent GM. The Rex Ryan thing to the Jets, to me, is a little far-fetched. I don't care. I know he's been pining for the job for the last couple of months on ESPN. But if Vrabel ever went to the Jets, I would puke on site, on the spot, if he ends up there. That's the guy, Tannenbaum, who I don't have a lot of respect for football knowledge-wise. That's who he should be going at. That should be his top priority. Now, can Brady steal him away with the Raiders? Because Pierce is getting fired too. That's the other thing. But the fact that basically Vrabel has come out and said, I want to be the coach of the Patriots. I don't know what the hell they're waiting for. And they got to swallow their pride and just say, yeah, we fucked up here a lot the last couple of years. We screwed this up. Let's now take steps to correct it. Just like when Kraft took over the team initially, first thing he did is hire Bill Parcells. And this guy, Bill, on the text line says, Robert Kraft has become Victor Kiam. Well, I'm not going to go that far yet. But he needs to revert back to when he took over the team from him and say, this is where we're at now. Let's fix this thing. Somebody, either him, Jonathan, somebody. And it starts with Mayo and coordinators, and the entire offensive line staff needs to be canned. And somebody's they got to do it. They have to do it. This is embarrassing.
You look at Robert Kraft, and I know he's got this Hall of Fame thing. The problem with that is there's nothing Robert Kraft can do that's going to change when he gets into the Hall of Fame. That's going to happen whenever it happens. But I and it's not me, but I am a dad. And I gotta believe that maybe he comes to the realization this year that it's like time to just step back, and let Michael take over the family business. And Tom Hagen is out; he's out.
Yeah, he's out.
And
I loved you, I trusted you, that I kept.
Yeah, Tom Hagen is out. If Michael supports it, I support. That maybe the Patriots need that moment where Robert finally says, "Okay, Jonathan, it's all yours. I'm going to have my thing, and I'm going to, you're running the show, and maybe they need that. I don't know. The whole inner dynamics there. I don't know, and I alluded this to my column, and not many people talk about this. I don't know how much say Robin Glazer has down there now. I don't know if she's really gotten into running and controlling the checkbook. There's a lot there that we don't know. The Kremlin on Route 1 is the Kremlin on Route 1 for a reason.
Yeah.
But we do know that the product on the field is terrible. We do know that there's obvious dysfunction in the front office. We've seen how they bungled Drake May. We saw how they bungled the draft after Drake May. We've seen how they were unable or unwilling to burn all that cash that they had. So we have a lot of evidence to look at and to, say, hey, what's wrong? And everybody has an opinion on what to do to fix it, which is, what we're here for. But doing nothing is not the answer. This is not a time for incremental change.
But Bill, after no matter what happens on Sunday in the Bills Patriots game in Foxborough, does Jonathan or Robert have a press conference after the game, or at least Monday, where one of them is there to face the fire? It better happen, because
I would hope so.
I have a million questions I would like to ask, and I wouldn't settle for any vague answers. And I don't care how pissed off they get. It is time somebody go after him and find out what in the wild world of sports is going on. And it starts with firing Elliott Wolf. He goes first. You could fire all three coaches, the head coach and the two offensive coordinators. Every offensive line coach that is associated with that team should be out. And half of the offensive line, if not all of them, should be gone, waived, cut.
Well, I'll tell you this. If you do end up with the first pick, and, they may still well lose and still get the first pick, right? There's no guarantee, a win. I mean, they may well win.
I think they're destined for Travis Hunter no matter what, because I think Dura Sanders and Cam Ward are 1-2, and unless the Patriots get the second pick, in which case they go for Hunter. They're not going for a quarterback, obviously.
But what I'm saying is, if you're going to have a top 1, 2, or 3 pick,
yeah,
what better way to lure a general manager to say, look, we're not only going to give you what we have, you got the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick or whatever it is, and it's your call, and you can do whatever you want with it, or I don't know. To me, that would be all the more incentive for them to be able to get a better candidate. Unlike the Red Sox, I mean, I think the Red Sox were down to Craig Breslow, the assistant produce manager at the Arlington Stop and Shop, and the shift leader at Target. I think those are the last 3 candidates they had.
I can't even think about baseball right now because it's
so the Patriots.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
If you want to bring in. If you want to bring in a great GM and great free agents, what better way to do it than have the number 1 pick of the draft? Or, and again, it's the same with free agents. If you're, because remember, free agency is before the draft. So you could say to T. Higgins or great receiver X, hey, we have the number 1 pick, and, we're planning to trade down and build up the offensive line so that Drake May doesn't get murdered in week 2, and he's going to have more time to throw you the ball, in case you're wondering. So there's a lot there that goes beyond just the pick. Whether they trade it or keep it, whatever, it's fine. I don't, just to have that asset, right? To it makes the team that much more attractive to good GMs, good coaches, and or free agents. Let's not forget about free agency. The Patriots have all this money that they have to spend. I mean, we're still hearing that crap about the Red Sox. The Red Sox have $40 billion under the luxury tax threshold. Somebody's getting a good bonus on Yawkey Way. I'll tell you that right now. Somebody got a good bonus this year because they're saving the team $40 million. I think $4 million is going into somebody's pocket. The other $36 million is going to John and Linda, so they could buy the rest of the PGA Tour. So it's the same with the Patriots. They have to pay. They have to hit the Patriots always hit the floor. They never hit the ceiling of the salary cap, and the penalties are assessed over 3 years. And we know it's the cash spending. So if they're not spending the cash, somebody's getting a bonus and the rest is going into Kraft's pocket. It's the same deal.
Look, as usual, I can't I don't disagree with anything you're saying at all. I'm just I want answers. I want answers.
Well, of course, and it's funny. We're in a new year.
They always say they're fans and everything else. Well, I'll tell you, Robert and Jonathan, somebody owes it to the fans and the media. Oh, that we want to hear. Jonathan used to do his pregame show all the time on the Sports Hub. Doesn't do it anymore. I mean, there's a lot of questions that need to be asked here. I'm sure they will be asked. I have no doubt. The integrity reporters in New England are going to go after them, and I hope it's not these vague bullshit answers. Just stop bullshitting us, and just say how the most disappointing thing this year. I've said it how many weeks in a row that nobody on the offensive line coaching staff has been fired, and only one guy, I can't remember his name, got waived on the offensive line that I know of. One guy after all of this stuff, and there's been no accountability, none, zero.
Well, that's a good word, and I've been thinking about this, and you saying it sort of reinforced it in my mind. I think 2025 needs to be the year of accountability. I think it needs to be the year of accountability in Foxborough. It needs to be the year of accountability for the Patriots. It needs to be the year of accountability for the Celtics in terms of establishing a dynasty if they want to do that. And it needs to be a year of accountability for the Bruins because they're going to have to take a wrecking ball to that team. So I think accountability is a great word for this year, for this upcoming year, because we haven't had it. We certainly haven't had it with the Patriots, and we certainly haven't had it with the Red Sox. And it's the Red Sox it's gone past the point of obscenity. The Patriots are starting to go down that road, and they're getting closer and closer and closer to Lansdowne Street every year. And it makes me sicker and sicker and sicker to see it because Kraft, I think a lot of his goodwill is gone. I'm sure he's got some left. And I think the fans want to give him the benefit of the doubt. They want a reason to say, we still love you, Bob. Whereas opposed to John Henry, where they just want to run that guy out of a town on a rail. But, Kraft, most of his goodwill is gone, but he's still got enough left, but he has to take accountability. And that's the best way to win over the hearts and minds.
Now, as crazy as this, before I let you go, who is in worse shape right now, the Red Sox or the Patriots?
I have to say the Patriots. The Red Sox finished 81-81, right? Yep. They're 359 and 360 since they sold Mookie Betts. That is a trademark Bill Spiro stat, by the way.
Yes, it is.
You cannot get any closer to mediocrity than that mathematically. Literally impossible, because there's an odd number of games. So the Red Sox are like 5 wins away from making the playoffs. I mean, seriously. And if they had kept Chris Sale and he went 13-8 instead of 18-3, they would have made the playoffs last year. It's that simple. So the Red Sox are in a lot better shape than the Patriots. Frankly, unfortunately, this year, I think they've regressed. They probably held even or maybe upticked with the pitching, because they lost Nick Pivetta and they got to have Giolito back, but they have nothing on the right side of the plate. And the fact that they let Tyler O'Neill walk and they didn't make him an offer where they were bullshitting with Juan Soto, to me is unforgivable. And they've gotten a free pass on that from state-run media, from John Henry Media. They should have locked in Tyler O'Neill first and then gone after Soto, because they could have gotten him for next to nothing. That guy hit 33 home runs last year. There won't be anyone on this team aside from Devers that hits over 25 next season. And he was doing it from the right side of the plate. So as much as I would say the Red Sox, unfortunately, I think they've actually slid a little bit off this year. Now, if they get Bregman and he shows up the right side of the infield, that's going to help a lot. But right as they stand right now, they've gone backwards because they've lost the power from the right side that they had.
Well, there's good news on the Patriot front. We have one Pro Bowler just came out. Schooler made it on special teams.
There you go. Reminds me of the year when Scott Cooper made the All-Star game, 1993.
2 years in a row he made it.
Yeah. They had where they were giving out participation trophies, and they had to find someone on the Red Sox roster. They picked Scott Cooper, All-Star third baseman.
Oh my God! All right, my friend. Thanks for coming on. Take it a few minutes. Let's talk next week, and we'll see the state of. Some of the New England sports team. Also, before I let you go, anything upcoming on the gambling front? We're in a new year now. It's 2025. Any big story? What are your expectations for this coming?
Sure. A couple of things. One, for everyone who had a bet on the Sugar Bowl yesterday, you should have gotten a notice from your book. Some of the bets, and I posted about this on social media. Every sports book has house rules. And there are rules specific about games that are postponed and delayed. Most, and they vary by state, most sports books will say that if an event is postponed and played within 24 hours, it's as if the event was played at the scheduled time. Mm-hmm. With the Sugar Bowl kicking off today at 4:00, that is probably going to hold across. I know it's that way at DraftKings. I know it's that way at FanDuel. That's 70%.
I'm looking at my Hard Rock bet right now, and I get no notice. And I have I had Texas, Ohio State, and Georgia to all win. And
so because the game is being played within 24 hours, I think most books are like that, to where it's kind of a, they had to take it down and put it back up because the game was rescheduled. I think the line tightened up a little bit now. Notre Dame's a 1-point favorite. So there might have been a little tightening in the lines, I think, just because people are generally, maybe unsure about everything. So that's sort of the immediate thing. In other words, if you had a bet on the Sugar Bowl, it's still good. Probably 99% of these books have the same rules in all the states. Big picture this year, you're looking at a possible Georgia and Texas are the two states that are going to take this up to where legalization would be really huge. Those are the two big states that really are left on the table for legalization that are realistic. California is not realistic. So the legislative sessions begin very soon. They run in the spring. So, we'll be tracking that as that comes to fruition or not. I think Georgia's a lot more likely than Texas. Also, you've got Missouri, which is actually going to launch probably right around football season. So sports betting will be legal in Missouri. And there was obviously talk, at the end of this lame session of Congress about some sort of federal regulation. You might see that come up again. I think if you do, it's also going to be in tandem with, dealing with both sweepstakes stuff and these new predictive markets like Kalshi and others, that operate as not as betting sites, but as trading markets. So they fall under a different set of regulations. I think industry wide, it's just, you're going to see a lot more of the same. I think you're going to see ESPN Bet finally pick up. They've had some good numbers lately, and they brought in a new person to run the site, and they're finally integrating it with the ESPN app and with the broadcast. So I think ESPN Bet is finally going to kind of pick up some steam this year and might gain some market share. That to me is the only really industry trend. And of course, there's always in Florida, there's the possibility that, we've had out there for 10 months that the tribe may cut a deal with other operators to allow them to come into the state. But I think first off, we're going to have to look at whether or not they allow iGaming during the legislative session.
Yeah. Interesting stuff, Bill. Man, you're the best. Thanks so much. Happy New Year to you and your family. And we will talk again next week. Bill Sparrows here from the Boston Herald and senior betting analyst for bookies.com. Always a pleasure, my friend. And I want you asking the hard-hitting questions to the crowd.
I would love the opportunity. The Red Sox keep denying my request. I'm going to have to start emailing Stacy. I would love the opportunity to interview both of them. I would be fair. I would ask them honest, legitimate questions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would not make any jokes about day spas or third wives.
No, absolutely not. That doesn't know anybody know. I would have one word question. I would just say, why?
Well, my question to both of them would be, when and why did you stop deciding to spend money on your football or baseball team?
Yeah. And of course, their bullshit answer would be, well, no, if we have spent money. Well, you spent money in the wrong places. You haven't spent to the cap, and you've clearly made a mistake with hiring of your coaching staff. And
adjusted for inflation, the Red Sox payroll was 39% lower last year than it was in 2019.
Yeah. All right, my friend. All the best. We'll talk again next week.
Thank you, Pete.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bill Sparrows joining me here on the Pete Sheppard Show on the Coastal Sports Network. And we say back good morning to Angel Martinez. A few more minutes, Angel. I was going to go over the NFL playoff scenario, but how are you doing?
Good. Although Bill there for a second sounded like almost like Vito Corleone's like let Michael take over.
Yeah, references. Absolutely. Anything else going on the network today, and anything else coming up before we close out the show with the NFL playoff scenarios? What's going on with everything?
Yes. So later on, you're going to have the Drive with Q from 5 to 6. If you guys have missed it, the last 3 days he's been live audio only, meaning that if you have the digital sports app or you visit sr1029thegame.com, there's buttons that are up there you guys will see up on the show, or at least on the homepage.
How pissed were you the Giants won last week?
You know what? Ironically, though, I thought he was going to be really pissed. And then he was like, you know what? Screw it. He goes, teams can't tank just to get a better pick. But he is happy at least they still have the top 5 pick. Yeah. So I think he wasn't as upset because I as soon as they lost, I gave him the business. But he was like, nah, I'm not even going to get into it. But yeah, so Rich will be on a little bit later on. But like I said, if you guys go to the homepage, you'll see there's individual buttons for every show. And the reason why that's done is because when Pete's on, for example, he starts off the morning here on the network, is that you guys can go there and you can obviously watch the show live via video and then listen to us on the digital sports radio side. Therefore, if you're jumping in a car, jumping out of the car, one or the other, you guys can listen in. Also, you can also download the digital sports app directly from the pages itself. But he's been doing an audio only version of the show. He'll be doing it again today, and then he'll be back tomorrow, video and audio. And he will be going back to 5 days a week, starting next week from 4 to 6 p.m. So he'll be back to, he'll be back to 5 days a week. So there was a lot of stuff that had to be done, during the break. Like I said, I wish I would have had some downtime, but there's, with the new layout, new things I did over on the website. That's why I usually ask folks, if you guys have not been to it, visit the website because there's always something consistently changing or the addition of something else like City Garage Motorsports. So there's that's coming up tomorrow. I'll be back from 10 to 12. Today, of course, is more meetings as I normally end up having prior or post the morning show. So That's about it. Just check out all the new stuff that's up there on the website if you guys don't mind. And as always, thank you for those who have downloaded the Digital Sports app. So when the talent goes on air, you guys don't miss a thing. And he had, it was fun because it's like listening back to just regular terrestrial radio, except for on a digital sports side. And then you have the text messages that were coming through over to the show. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of work for sure, a lot of head scratching, a lot of stuff. But I've gotten a couple of compliments already, people saying they like the new layout and the app has gotten a lot clearer on the audio. That was probably the biggest pain in the butt process throughout this whole entire thing. But, that's what we do because I love what we do.
Yep, absolutely. Just going through some playoff scenarios here. We'll get to this week, but if the playoffs started today in the AFC, the Chiefs would be the number 1 seed. The 7-2 matchup would be the Broncos and the Bills. More on that in a second. The 6-3 matchup would be the Chargers at the Ravens, and the 5-4 matchup would be the Steelers at the Texans. Right now, the Lions would still be the number 1 seed. Again, more on that in a second. The 7-2 game would be the Packers at Angels-Eagles, the 7-2 matchup. The 6-3 matchup would be the Washington Commanders at the LA Rams. And the 5-4 matchup right now would be the Vikings at the Buccaneers. Now, if we're looking at playoff scenarios, let's begin in the AFC this week. The Ravens can clinch the AFC North and number 3 seed with a win or a Pittsburgh loss or tie. The Steelers can clinch the AFC North Division title and number 3 seed with a Pittsburgh win and a Baltimore loss. This is the interesting one. Denver can clinch a playoff berth with a win or a tie against Kansas City, where they're playing nobody, but who knows, and that they would clinch the playoff berth with that, and they'd also need a Miami loss or a tie and a Cincinnati loss or a tie. Miami can clinch a playoff berth with a win and a Denver loss, and Cincinnati can clinch a playoff berth, Cincinnati win, Denver loss, and a Miami loss. So Cincinnati is still in it. Miami is still in it. Denver is still in it in the driver's seat with a win or a tie against a Kansas City team that's not going to play anything, or a Miami loss or a tie there. And if you're looking at who's playing whom in those games in the AFC, the Chiefs are obviously Denver's at home. Chiefs are at the Broncos, and the Dolphins are going to be at the Jets. The disarrayed, the discombobulated Jets. However, it's probably going to be cold. And that's the only reason I give the Jets even a scintilla of a chance, is because it's going to be cold in that one. If we're looking at the NFC playoff scenarios, let me just click this on. Much easier. The Tampa Bay Bucks can clinch the NFC South division with a win or tie, and they can also lose if Atlanta loses or a tie. Minnesota can clinch the NFC North division title and the overall number 1 seed with a first-round bye and home field advantage with a win. So if they beat Detroit, they're number 1 all the way. The NFC would go through Minnesota. If not, they could still lose. Atlanta win and a Tampa Bay loss, and that would clinch the Atlanta Falcons can clinch the NFC South Division title with a win and Tampa Bay loss. Minnesota, basically, that is going to be they're either going to be the 1 or the 5. That's the way it's going to be. They'll be the 1 or the 5. So they're either going to be hosting the number 1 seed, or it's going to be the Vikings at Tampa Bay in a 5-4 matchup. Yep, I'm assuming Tampa Bay is going to win. Or the Lions at Tampa Bay coming up on Wild Card Weekend, and the Vikings would have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Going to be really, really, really interesting. All right, my friend. Bill says, go Bills, beat the tar out of the Pats to lock in the number 1 draft pick and seal the fate of Mayo. No, I don't think that game's anybody's going to beat anybody up badly, because I think there's going to be a lot of backups, mostly backups playing. I don't care if Josh Allen's playing. You're going to play 1 series or 2 and sit it out. I don't know who's going to play for the Patriots. I don't think Drake May should play. I wouldn't play him. It doesn't make any sense. There'll probably be 10 people at that game in Foxborough anyway. It's going to be hideous. Of course, I'll be watching it. I'll be one of the 10 on TV, along with some of my friends that will actually be watching it. All right, Angel Martinez, great stuff as always. And I'm going to leave on a very high note. Great song. That makes everybody feel happy. Hey, thanks to my guest, Jay Flannelly. Thanks to Bill Spiros. Tomorrow, I can tell you, at least John Meter-Perrell and at least Gabe Morency's back. I'll have Pigskin Picks. Gabe will have his. Meter, who's been calling college basketball. We'll talk some college football playoffs with him and see what he thinks, as well as some college basketball news. And we'll probably have another guest or two as well on a freaky football freeform Friday on the Pete Sheppard Show. So thanks, everybody. Hope everybody has a healthy and happy, prosperous New Year. I'm back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Have a great and safe rest of your Thursday, everybody. Georgia wins by a touchdown. See ya.